It is 6 a.m. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. Sparse news in the NFL, but in the NBA last night, the Orlando Magic agreed to a reported 5-year, $239 million max extension with forward Paolo Banchero for the richest contract in Magic history. It also has a player option for the 2030-31 season. If Banchero is either All-NBA MVP or Defensive Player of the Year next season, he'll get an extra $48 million on his contract, elevating it to a supermax, totaling $287 million. Banchero won Rookie of the Year and was an All-Star in 2024. In other NBA news, the Indiana Pacers confirmed yesterday that star point guard Tyrese Halliburton will indeed miss the entire 2025-26 season after having surgery to repair a torn right Achilles tendon that he suffered in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Halliburton averaged 18.6 points, 9.2 assists, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.4 steals in 73 games this past season, and was also selected to the All-NBA third team. In Major League Baseball yesterday, San Diego Padres third baseman Manny Machado became the fifth active player in the MLB and 297th player all-time to reach 2,000 career hits last night in their game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Machado entered the night 2 hits shy of 2,000, but had 3 hits. Hit number 2001 was a solo shot home run. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you've got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Tuesday morning starts right now on 104.5 The Zone. Good morning on a gorgeous and a little humid Tuesday in Middle Tennessee. This is Ramon and Will, fueled by Scooter's Coffee. And Scooter's Coffee is locally owned in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Coming up this morning, SEC coaches under the most pressure. We talked about one yesterday that I'm a little surprised is on the hot seat. And I see 6 wins for him this season. We'll talk about that coming up in hour 1 today. The Foster 5 is back.
Yeah.
Another top 5 ranking on NFL position groups. We're going with quarterbacks, the second most important position behind offensive line here on Ramon and Will. VolQuest's Matt Ray pinch hits for Austin Price in hour 3 at 8:20. We're grading T'Vondre Sweat's rookie season in hour 4, 615-737-1045. Good morning, Ramon Foster.
Hey, good morning, Will Bowling, man. How are you this morning?
I am well, and you?
Man, I'm fine this morning. Today, I feel more normal than I did yesterday, just so
Good.
you know. Yes.
Oftentimes, it is the second day that gets you, so
we're rolling.
I'm
this
pleasantly
morning.
surprised that it was the first day that got you.
I know it was, and I don't know why it seriously was getting back in the studio, the routine of breaking through traffic, which really ain't that much traffic when we come in the mornings. Usually, I did see somebody get pulled over this morning. I'm trying to figure out why. It was, I don't know, it was a crowd of cars. Trooper hopped behind this one particular car. It was like a yellow-looking car, and I was just like, well, everybody looked like they were doing the same speed, unless they were holding up traffic. And they, I don't know if they got a warning, got a ticket, or whatever it was, but seeing those blue lights early in the morning, that has to suck. For
Wakes you up a little bit.
It
wakes up all parties.
It wakes up all parties.
Well,
yes,
you are like our 3HL teammate Don Davenport that would love the speed minimum to be enforced the same way the maximum is enforced.
Treat it like West Texas. You know what I'm saying? They have like minimums whenever you drive in Texas. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I feel like everywhere is supposed to technically have one. It's just maybe enforced different places in different ways.
It's like that. You know what I'm saying? What I will tell you is driving in a foreign country is something that is very foreign to me. And they just shift gears, turn corners, brake hard.
Oh yeah, they're just going for it.
Oh my God.
There is no regard for humans in the car or for humans in other cars. It's just let me get to point B as quickly as I can get.
Or roundabouts. Like the way they entry in is like hopscotch almost, or double dutch in the sense. Like you really got to be ready to go. If not, your legs will get hit by the doggone jump ropes.
There is also, if you are on a shuttle in a lot of those countries, like if you go to a Caribbean country for a vacation and you're on a shuttle, those things do not have suspension.
No.
When they stop, you got to be locked in. Otherwise, you are going through the windshield.
Yeah. I got to be honest with you, too. There's certain stuff I got to just stop being humble about.
Sure.
And that is shuttle, like, transportation after the airport, like in foreign countries. We got there and it was already hot in the Bahamas. And here I am complaining about going to the Bahamas. Okay, first world problems. All right, I just want to acknowledge that. Quick enough.
Fair enough.
That was fair?
Fair enough.
All right, I got ahead of that one, okay? What I'm saying is whenever you go to these airports in these foreign countries and they got these shuttles set up, one, if they are sending you like one particular company, it's the biggest shuttle company there, okay?
Yeah,
Which means when you get your bags and you're ready to go and it is 89 degrees outside with humidity and you're sitting on this shuttle bus, you're going to wait. You know why? Because they got to fill it up. Okay,
Sure do.
We sat there afterwards. Getting in, we're going through customs. It took us about an hour and 15 minutes. It's crazy. But everybody else we talked to was like, yeah, we were only in line for like 15 minutes. I don't know why they chose to hold us up, okay? Hour and 15. Get through, then we had to go through again, the country security. And the guy at the gate was just like, does anybody have over $10,000 worth of cash on them? And everybody was like, no. It's like, well, go through then. So we had to do that. Then you met outside with the people that you got to tip. Okay, I ran out of tip dollars, Will. You hear me? Quickly.
Happens fast, doesn't it?
I'm talking about from the guy carrying the bags to the guy loading the bags up to the guy that drop you off. And when you get to the hotel, tips were gone fast is what I'm telling my guy. But sitting on a shuttle bus for an extra 15, 20 minutes is not something I saw going into vacation.
Tip money leaves quickly in the Caribbean, just like it does in Atlanta for many.
Yes, it does.
615-737-1045 is our number. We stream the show live at 1045 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Is Tony Pollard a top running back in the NFL? NFL executives don't think so. The top 10 starting at NFL executives, media, coaches, all these things. 70 voters submitted a ballot. And Jeremy Fowler yesterday on ESPN.com says they vote Saquon Barkley number 1, Derrick Henry number 2, Jahmyr Gibbs 3, Bijan Robinson 4, Christian McCaffrey 5. Of course, this has nothing to do with the Foster 5, which is the preeminent list in ranking NFL players that are currently playing. Isn't it funny how Derrick Henry goes from 9th to 2nd on this list after taking off his Tennessee Titans jersey and putting on a Baltimore Ravens jersey?
You know what? You say this often. Well, I guess you bring reality to our listeners a lot of times. There is the Titans tax. It is. It's involved in players that play for the Titans and also when they leave. And it looked like to me that Derrick Henry has removed the Titans tax away from his playing career right now, man. Him going up to number 2, I will say this, though, too. Derrick kind of proved that a little bit last year. He could have had, I think, definitely 2,000 yards again. And then, of course, his team won a lot. His team is also one of those premier teams. But to your point, Will, he was doing these same things here in Nashville, Tennessee. I would even say this. I think he played more of a more important role with the Titans than he is right now with the Baltimore Ravens. And he still didn't get the credit for it. I thought he was player number 1 on this squad. But legitimately, you go to a different team, you get more recognition in these type of moments. And, of course, I will say this, too. Derrick had bigger moments than the Titans did last year, too. It's a weird place to be at, but I do agree with you. There is a Titans tax attached to players when they play in the NFL for this franchise.
An AFC executive says he'll slow down at some point, Derrick Henry, but he's got elite body composition and elite work ethic. He's a monster. No one wants to tackle him. And then when he wears you down, that is when he breaks off that big run. Yeah, this is new info, apparently, to AFC executives. We've known this. This has not changed.
No, has not
changed over the past couple of seasons. Elsewhere, ESPN.com, the rapid-fire headlines this morning. ESPN's Tom Luganbill writing about the best fits among 5-star recruits in the class of 2026. And the director of recruiting for ESPN.com, Ramon Foster, loves Faison Brandon.
Does he really?
In Tennessee's offense, saying the departure of Nico Iamaleava could allow Brandon to battle for the starting job sooner rather than later in a very quarterback-friendly system, saying he throws an exceptional deep ball, which is a requirement in Tennessee's scheme, saying while he lacks Iamaleava's polish at this point, I don't know if we saw a lot of polish from Nico, to be fair, last year. Brandon throws an exceptional deep ball, a requirement in this scheme that loves to attack vertically, saying he's more advanced than Hendon Hooker at the same stage and is more accurate than Joe Milton.
Yeah, no doubt about it. By the way, Tyler Bray had some strong comments about Nico Iamaleava, too, speaking of that, too.
Other California, Tennessee quarterback.
Yes, absolutely. He's speaking about the polished side, Will, and you're right. Like, what is a polished Nico Iamaleava, too? Like, I don't think we got the opportunity to see. I think the throwing motion was very polished, but if you look at Faison Brandon's, his look just as good, too. And here's the other part of it, too. This is like, 11 on 11 or 7 on 7 stuff, these elite camps that they're doing stuff out of. But it was fascinating. It was on that Bring the Juice podcast, and he was on it, and he said, here's the thing about Nico. It's like you couldn't give the money to Nico because then you got to give it to somebody else. But he also said this, but your running back, Dylan Sampson, is a top 10 guy. Your defense, to your point about the polished side of Nico, was also a top 10 defense. That's why you're winning football games. I'm glad that a guy like Tyler Bray, who's somewhat removed from the program a little while ago, you know what I'm saying, spoke about it like this, and also haven't played the quarterback position, because that's the other side of like being a quarterback. Sometimes, to be fair, you need to be carried to learn how to also drive the car at times. And that, to your point, Will, about Nico being very polished, like, no. This was a situation where the defense held his own. And I've said the last year or so, that defense was the MVP of that team. Tim Bank deserved the contract extension.
Yeah, that Nico is a top 10 quarterback in the country returning this season. He certainly wasn't a top 10 quarterback last season. I still am not going to change my opinion on him just because he's not at Tennessee anymore. But I'm not saying you are either, but I still think that there is a certain dynamic to the Tennessee offense that if you can just hit open receivers, you can be a successful quarterback at Tennessee.
Yeah.
Nico didn't hit a ton of open receivers, but he did make some plays that made you say, whoa. But it was almost like Nico was passing calculus without passing pre-algebra at times. Wasn't hitting the layups, but he was hitting some crazy contested threes. We just need Joey Aguilar to hit some mid-range jumpers. We don't need him to win any games for us. We don't need it. Like, just take the open shots when they're there and bury them. I was burying them yesterday on the new NCAA football video game, though. Braylon Staley is going to be a problem on that game, and I played Delaware my first game last night.
Had to
because they were the newest team in FBS, one of the two new teams, them in Missouri State. Very fun game.
Delaware Jackrabbits? Is that what they
Delaware, no, you're thinking of South Dakota State, which has the same colors.
Yeah.
Delaware, the Blue Hens.
Blue Hens.
Home of one Joe Flacco.
Back in the day. Yes.
They've got the same Michigan helmets with light yellow and light blue.
You know ball, man.
No, I know a lot of useless information, mainly about college football.
I was asking my son, my youngest, Miles, about it, and he just was thumbs up and being like, yes, it's good. Legit.
It's good.
He said it's legit, man.
I impulsively got it with the 3 days early access last night, and I don't know, Madden is going to be a part of it. Madden was the throw-in for helping me prep for broadcast this year.
No, seriously, it matters. You say that, but like learning names of guys, yes, 100% happens to the video games.
I love it.
I sound like an old guy to video games.
615-737-1045 is our number. Which SEC football coaches are under the most pressure in 2025? We'll tell you next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. Do you have a plumbing issue at home? Whether it is a leaky faucet, a clogged drain, or a water heater that's gone cold, the plumbing professionals at Lee Company have your back. Available 24/7 year-round, Lee Company's licensed technicians can save you time, money, and all the stresses that come with an ill-timed plumbing issue. I trust Lee Company because I love working with local businesses who know the area, who are a part of our communities. That's 100% what you get with Lee Company. You get over 80 years of experience. Since 1944, the premier company taking care of your HVAC, your plumbing, your electrical systems, you name it, they do it. And they're open 24/7, 365 to help you do it quickly and efficiently as well. Contact Lee Company's award-winning team at leecompany.com or call them 615-567-1000. Online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. Tuesday morning, good morning, Will. Fueled by Scooters Coffee, locally owned near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. 11-year NFL veteran, Vol Network analyst Ramon Foster, Justin Hawkins, our producer. I'm Will Bowling. Start with Mike in Murfreesboro. Before we get to SEC coaches under the most pressure, you can join us at 615-737-1045. Good morning, Mike.
Morning, Mike.
Morning, Ramon and Will. Hey,
yeah.
I just wanted to compliment you. You did a great job calling that winning goal by
Thank you.
Honey Mukhtar on Saturday. I obviously couldn't hear it because I was busy working the fireworks there at the stadium.
Oh, wow.
You and I me and Lucas we've met before in the elevators coming down. I got to hear that last night on 3HL. And that was just a spectacular call by you. And man, what an ending to a great game. These guys are red hot.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate that.
Mike, we told Will we were gonna torture him for not bringing it up on the show like that. The call, Mike, to your point, needed to be brought up yesterday, and Will just let it slide, Mike. I wasn't okay with that, man.
No, it's not about me.
No, but it is. Your name is on the show. The call was gas, by the way. I was just like, why didn't you bring this up? If there was ever a time to brag on yourself, it was that one, Will.
No, moments like that, not about me. It's about the team and the player and the story. And there are a lot more important things in that moment than just myself.
I'm telling Mom. That's what I'm doing. I'm telling Mom you didn't brag on yourself, Will, is what happened. That was no lie.
That's very kind
of you. A legit call right there, by the way. If y'all hadn't heard it, most definitely go back. Shout out to HL for playing that over again. Will did his thing on that one. I'll be quite honest with you.
I appreciate that. Appreciate 3HL for the shout out as well. It was one of those moments where the best thing you can do is just get out of the way and let the crowd take over. And that's what we tried to do in the moment. And after the fact and at the end, it was a really fun game.
And this is what we're going to do now. We're going to make you get out of the way because Jayhawk got the call ready. Yeah, you have no choice here, Will.
Lovely.
We finna hear this call, man, because it was gas, man. As many people I saw on social media and just in general speaking about the Nashville Soccer Club, well, absolutely, this one need to be called. That was a huge moment.
Now ready, towards it, right foot, shot, back of the net! Mukhtar at the death for 10-man Nashville. Not even a red card can cool off the red hot boys in gold. Mukhtar, past Blake, Nashville 1, Philadelphia 0.
Thank you. No, it was a fun moment. It was a really cool moment. Sometimes you're blessed to be in the right place at the right time on the right night in the right end of a game, and I just found myself in the right place at the right time Saturday night.
Dude, that's how it happens, man.
Absolutely right.
Everybody looks for the moment and sometimes just be there, and that's where you were. Dog, congrats, man. That's huge.
It was fun.
That's big time right
Very
there.
fun.
I wish you would come here all humble again, man.
No.
I wish you would. Leave it to us.
Hopefully I'm lucky enough to be in more situations like that, and we've got more things to play like that.
Listen, this world tears you down. Let us lift you up, man. Come on, man. God, dog, that was solid. That's what I'm saying, huh? That's all I'm saying. He coming here being all humble on a Monday like that after America's Day?
So I'll knock myself back down. So after that call and after that game, I had a buddy staying with me and went to go grab drinks with some friends and at this bar. And I may or may not have sang karaoke Saturday night after that game and singing a song, trying to hit a high note. Voice just totally cracked, just totally went out on me because I used a lot of energy and a lot of vocal energy in that moment and in that call. So it was not with me on Sunday, and it was almost not really with me yesterday, but we're getting it back now.
See, all like this?
Yes! A little bit.
See, that all it was, you infringing upon your sister Claire's world. Leave that alone,
yes.
okay? Leave the singing to Claire, all right? We good. You do the announcing thing, because we love that.
That's right.
We love that,
right.
Will.
615-737-1045. Which SEC coaches are under the most pressure in college football in 2025? Tyler McComas of the Ref in Norman, Oklahoma was on the show yesterday talking about Brent Venables and what it would take for him to keep his job or get fired, or really just for Oklahoma fans to be confident in where their football program is going. This is a football program, mind you, that has added as much legitimate high-level talent as anybody in the SEC. Ramon, were you surprised to hear Tyler yesterday say that 7-5 is probably the minimum of what it's going to take for Brent Venables to save his job this season?
I mean, is this going into year 3, if I'm not mistaken, too? Like, there's a lot of changes that have to happen. And of course, with their AD stepping down yesterday, like you bring Jim Nagy into it, there seems to me there is going to be an influx of change at Oklahoma. So seeing him as a coach that they love seems to be the reset that they wanted after Lincoln Riley left. Certain coaches serve purposes, and I feel like his was to get that organization back stable. If he doesn't prove to be a winner, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that to me I think is the biggest thing. You say you can send as many defensive players as you want into the NFL, but unless you got like a quarterback, a wide receiver, something that I'll be honest with you, that's attractive to these young recruits, then that's where it becomes problematic. Like, because I'll look at a defensive guy, Kirby Smart. Kirby's the ultimate defensive guy, correct? But they've gotten a whole lot of hay off of putting offensive linemen and quarterbacks and wide receivers into the NFL draft, and that makes you a little bit more exciting because, again, I think most fans come in to watch offense. The defense is always a bonus. You want to know how we know that? Because more people spoke about Nico than they did, I feel like, the Vols defense the last year or two. Like, that's why. And I think if Venables is in a position where he has John Mateer looking like the guy that they think he's supposed to be, then it's very problematic. With 7 wins, I would almost push it up to 8.
Oklahoma fits in the motto of it's hard to be boring and bad. They were boring and bad last year.
Facts.
A lot of ugly, low-scoring losses for the Oklahoma Sooners under Brent Venables. This was Tyler McComas of the Ref in Norman, Oklahoma, on the show yesterday, talking about the pressure that is rising in a hurry with the expectations that are rising in Norman.
I think the excitement and the expectations are, I think, pretty split, but at the same time, the optimism that does exist. If you would have told me in late December, this is how we might feel in early July, moments after they lost to Navy in a bowl game, there's no way I would have believed you, because it was as down as this fan base as, you've seen since the late 90s. I mean, it was bad. And when you looked ahead to this year at the time, there weren't a whole lot of hope and expectations. But then you just mentioned a lot of key factors. You went out and got arguably the best quarterback in the portal, and a guy that a lot of people think, not just here locally, but even nationally, can push for a top 3 quarterback spot in the SEC. You got Jaden Ott from Cal, who I've seen some rankings by some outlets that think he could be the best running back in the SEC. You've got, media personalities across the SEC who played in the league saying that Oklahoma has the best defensive line. So it's still pretty split, because you've gone 6-7 2 of the past 3 years, because that schedule is so daunting. But there are some expectations that do exist around here, because a lot of the offseason additions that you made, including Jim Nagy, a general manager that everyone loves so much, some other key players on both sides of the ball. But you asked about Brent Venables, and it's still crazy for me to say out loud. But, guys, this will be the first time since 1998 an Oklahoma football coach has entered the season on the hot seat. Bob Stoops was never on the hot seat going into the season. Lincoln Riley was never on a hot seat going into the season. And I don't think Brent Venables has realistically been on a hot seat going into a year until this year. So this is unfamiliar territory. It's been a long time. But he is firmly on the hot seat, and he's on one of the hottest seats in the SEC, and especially when you consider that they spent as much money as they did offseason to get it right this time around as opposed to last year. He cannot go 6-7. I don't even think he can go 7-5. If he wants to be the head coach at Oklahoma in 2026, I think the conversation has to start with at least an 8-win season.
So that's Tyler McComas of the Ref in Norman talking with us yesterday. Ramon, is Brent Venables the coach under the most pressure this season in the SEC?
No, I got 2 other coaches I feel like a little bit hotter than his. One of those guys, man, probably just because a change has to happen at some point with him, but he's the best thing that I feel like that's happened to him until you look at the record. And I think that is Mark Stoops.
Oh, interesting.
I do. I think them losing, what's the recruiter? I had his name a second ago. They went to Louisville. Vince Morrow.
However you say it.
I think it's Morrow. And he's already working
I've heard it both ways.
for them. I think losing him, him speaking very frank about what it takes to get players into Lexington also. And then the other part for me is I know, like, we can say build a statue for Mark Stoops for what he's done for the University of Kentucky and how that's a hard job. And I think it is I think it's harder than Vandy, to be quite honest with you, besides the academic side of it, to get players to buy into what Lexington football is.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far.
It's up there.
And not making it harder than Vandy.
It's most definitely up there as it pertains to what they are, because I'm looking at his overall SEC record. Well, he is 28-62 in SEC play as a coach. Like, that's tit for tat for me for where I think Vandy is as a program. And you're supposed to be Kentucky. It's supposed to be a little bit easier for you to get athletes in because you don't have the restrictions that Vanderbilt does as far as the grades go. And there's the other side of it, too. Like, 2 years ago, there was a deal in place for Mark Stoops to go to A&M until they end up having the Schiano moment.
There was.
So that's why I think, especially with him losing Vince Morrow, if the recruits don't hit the way they're supposed to and they can't get on track this year with having their bigs in the offensive line, because that was a huge conversation last year. They didn't have the offensive line in place. Well, it's probably because they had one of theirs at a concession stand during the middle of the game. But I'm also looking at, I say Mark Stoops, man. I think they can probably have a curtain call on him if he doesn't get it above 500 this year.
It feels like the Mark Stoops era is coming to an end. It has felt like for a long time that he is just sitting waiting for the Iowa job to open up and for Kirk Ferentz to call it quits.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I don't see him as being the one under the most pressure because expectations in Lexington aren't as high.
I get that.
As some of the other programs I think that have their coaches under pressure.
I get that.
Like I think Venables is right up there at the top. I still think Billy Napier is right up there at the top, even though his high school recruiting has gotten better.
Facts.
Heck, according to On3, their 2025 high school recruiting class was better than Tennessee's. Number 10 in the country. They had Tennessee number 11 in the country. Yeah. So they have built a foundation there. I still think that he's under a lot of pressure. I think you have to judge the expectations to judge how much pressure a coach is under. And there are two for me that are right up there at the top. And for different reasons. One of them is LSU, because Brian Kelly has spent a lot of donor money and a lot of NIL money to put together a competitive roster with a couple of transfer offensive linemen that are going to jump right in, with a couple of transfer wide receivers, with the Oklahoma tight end who comes over to play tight end for them, with Barryon Brown, the local product at a Pro Cone, one of those big weapons who's coming in there. I mean, Brian Kelly kind of did a stump speech for himself after he lost Bryce Underwood to Michigan to say, we're going to get our crap together, get our money in order. And they did. Donors did. They listened.
He said they're coming in, too.
Yeah, but it hit a little bit different when you can say, hey, see this guy over here, this one of the top players in the country, top quarterback in the country? We had him committed for months, and now he's at Michigan. Now you have a tangible example of what happens if you don't invest in me and my program. LSU expects national championships. We've been consistent on this. I'm not saying Brian Kelly is on a super hot seat. I think he's under a lot of pressure to perform and make a jump at least to the first round of the college football playoff, if not the quarterfinals. I think the other one, Ramon, I see under a ton of pressure, and my odds-on favorite to be fired before the end of the season is Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Really? I see 4 wins on Arkansas' schedule this year. I really do. I think Bobby Petrino is the head coach by November 1st in Fayetteville.
I can see it.
So Arkansas' schedule this season, they get Notre Dame at home. Notre Dame at home.
Coming back off the college football playoffs.
That's right.
That's going to be crazy.
Notre Dame, who is reloaded.
And they've recruited different athletes, too.
Notre Dame, who is absolutely reloaded.
Yep.
Notre Dame, A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Missouri go to Fayetteville this year. Arkansas travels in Power 4 teams, plus Memphis, to Ole Miss, to Memphis, to Tennessee, to LSU, and to Texas. So not only are there 5 road games there, there's also a home game against Notre Dame, and there is significant turnover. Arkansas is not recruiting.
No.
Arkansas is losing a ton of transfers. You know how many transfers Arkansas had go out of their program this past offseason? 39. You know how many they had in? 28. So they lose 11 players to the transfer portal. One of those transfers in is a 4-star player. So Kalen Green, the starting quarterback, might be the only returning player playing his position on the entire offense. They're moving 2 tackles inside, Fernando Carmona and Amarian Harris. The left tackle at Georgia Tech, Corey Robinson, by all accounts, solid. They get the UCF center. They get a right tackle from Oregon. But high school recruiting rankings, Ramon, matter.
Yeah.
And although they don't matter as much as I think they did 5 years ago, because you can supplement in the transfer portal now, Arkansas has finished 15th in the SEC in recruiting back-to-back years. They were 29th nationally, 32nd in 2024. Their team just isn't very good. Their roster is just not good. And for Sam Pittman as a ace recruiter at Georgia, in the way he was able to recruit and develop elite offensive linemen, I don't see him doing that in Fayetteville. Yeah. And I see a lot of money and a lot of powerful people circling like vultures on his tenure as head coach at Arkansas. I think this is it for him. I think he's gone by November 1st.
Yeah, I thought it was last year, to be quite honest with you. The season that they had, I thought it was last year. I mean, they ended up getting the Vols last year. And here's the other part, too. You got to ask the
Might
question.
have saved his job.
It may have. But the issue that I have with it is, like, you have an offensive-minded guy and Bobby Petrino there, also with a quarterback that he absolutely loves in the door. How could you not get guys to come into Fayetteville? You know, like, we hear all the time, like, that's where the money is at, too. But, like, that football program doesn't seem like they bought into another Sam Pittman year. It's the other side of it for me. Like, because if they can't spend in Fayetteville in the portal to get guys there with Kalen Green at quarterback, there's a bigger issue. And it seems to me they've almost suppressed the pockets of the people that want to donate to them. So I just never seen it like this, with a starter and waiting lose that many guys and not be able to bring that many folks in.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you was going to go another direction with a different quarter. I mean, with a different coach. I thought you was going to mention Hugh Freeze.
I do think Hugh Freeze is under a lot of pressure. I think, unlike Sam Pittman, he has recruited well enough to give himself a little bit more time.
And that's why I was going to go with him. I feel like the pressure that he's going to have. The last couple of years, his record 6-7, and last year was 5-7.
Yeah, I mean, he is under a lot of pressure. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
But he's got one of the top portal classes, if not the top portal class. On top of the last couple of years, he's done well in recruiting.
That's fine.
My thing is this with him. If they are going with Jackson Arnold as their quarterback, he's got the veteran too. So the pressure for him to win into this year 3, he's got to me to show that he has a proof of concept of saying, I know how to rebuild a program. 5-7, I mean, it's not a whole lot to come back from after that, but they have done well, I feel like, this offseason. So seeing him flourish this year is going to be fascinating.
It's interesting because the vibes on Auburn in 2026 for their recruiting class are low. Because that recruiting has not been good. You know where Auburn's 2026 recruiting class ranks right now?
Say it.
Just a guess. Take a wild guess.
Out of the entire 120 plus teams, I'll go 32.
Higher.
Ooh. 62?
Higher.
No way. 84.
Auburn is ranked 87th in recruiting right now.
87th?
87th.
Yeah, that's a dud.
They are losing guys left and right. So if that continues,
that's a dud.
Then yeah, Hugh Freeze is under significantly more pressure. But it is really interesting what goes down there this year with Jackson Arnold, with
no doubt.
Cam Coleman, with the different receivers that they have and the different weapons that are there. Eric Singleton, the guy from Georgia Tech they bring in, is a huge talent. Yeah. Huge talent. Is it enough to make Jackson Arnold a legitimate starting quarterback in this league? We'll see. But it is going to be really interesting how Hugh Freeze handles that pressure, because Hugh Freeze strikes me as the type that is very much in the media and reading what's going on and reading a lot of the noise around him. I get that vibe from him that things could get interesting if things start to go south for Hugh Freeze and Auburn.
In the beginning, I don't think it's hot. I do think there's a lot of pressure for him, because just listen to Don speak about Auburn football. They're very prideful. And watching what Alabama's doing, that's what they're fighting, too. That's what I'll say this. That's what Hugh Freeze is fighting. It's the Alabama side of things, too, the Crimson Tide.
So the checklist of SEC head coaches in the hot seat, an interesting one that we'll get to later in the show at 8 o'clock as well, of how many total coaches you feel like are on the hot seat entering the year of the SEC. I think for us, though, Mark Stoops and Sam Pittman is a good place to start to say the seats are warm. Seats are very, very warm.
Third place would be Venables.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I'd say so
I
at this
agree with
point.
you there.
615-737-1045. An awesome moment in sports over the weekend. An American athlete did a solid for one of his family members in a way that was absolutely hilarious over the weekend. We'll play you some great audio of that coming up next.
It's Ramon and Will here for Window Nation. Good people, I know you're trying to stay cool this summer, but your windows aren't keeping the AC in your home. Window Nation can help you with that, though. With their energy-efficient replacement windows, your windows will be comfy and cool for the rest of the summer. Better yet, Window Nation is currently offering you 50% off all window styles with no interest, Will, to the year 2030.
That's right, Ramon, and we trust Window Nation because they have an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. 50-point inspection of every window before it leaves the factory. You get that 20-point inspection of every window when it's installed by Window Nation. Again, this offer is outstanding. Save big this month with 50% off all window styles and pay 0 interest for 5 years. That is no interest until 2030. WindowNation.com is the website. The phone number, 866-90-NATION. Our good friends, Window Nation. Online at WindowNation.com. Ramona Will, fueled by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up hour number 1. Ramon, you've been watching any Wimbledon?
Will, is water wet? Yes, absolutely.
Really? I'm actually surprised.
No, I'm locked in. Like that is my secondary sport we get into. Do you hear me? 2 Americans
How
left,
did I
y'all.
not know this about
2
you?
Americans left. Oh my gosh. Yo, we got to get this one.
Ben Shelton and Taylor Fritz.
And Taylor Fritz, yes.
Did you see what Ben Shelton did over the weekend for his sister?
I did see that. That was good.
So after advancing to face Italy's Lorenzo Sonego on Monday in the 4th round, Shelton spoke in an on-court interview in front of a crowd that included his sister Emma and his girlfriend, who is U.S. women's national team star striker and winger Trinity Rodman. Ben Shelton needed a way to keep his sister from having to go back home because she was out of PTO. She's out of time off, and so he just talked about it into the microphone.
She has work back in the U.S. starting on Monday. She works for Morgan Stanley, and hey, come on now. She works for Morgan Stanley, so if any of y'all have some connects and get her a couple extra days off so she can, we can keep this rolling, that'd be great.
Ben Shelton, and it worked.
Yeah.
Morgan Stanley said, okay. And gave her more time off.
Bet. She might get a promotion after this, too,
Now
man.
he plays Yannick Sinner, the Italian, in the quarterfinals. So good on Ben Shelton.
I think Yannick Sinner is also the number 1 player in this tournament.
Number 1 player in the tournament. That's right.
He is. By the way, if y'all hadn't seen this young 22-year-old Ben Shelton, you're missing a treat. He's fun. He's a lefty man out there. Watching him hit the ball and the spin that he has off of it and the movement, man, is super fascinating. But not just that. Like, he is scrapping for every single point. His ability to return and save his sets is by far one of the coolest things ever. Like, watching him as a 39-year-old person right now that's retired from their sport, Will, I say to myself, boy, look at them young bones work, man. Like, he is jumping and leaning. He's hitting the ground and saving sets, man. It is it's fun. Watch this one if you can, man. Him and Center is going to be a good matchup. But, of course, experience goes a long way in tennis. But I'm excited to see him grow. He's just 22.
Yeah, he's young.
He's young.
Very young.
And he's fun, man.
He was losing to Tennessee not that long ago.
Did he really?
He's at Florida.
Ha! Chump. It's almost football season, but we can do this.
No, Tennessee men's tennis is one of the best programs in the country.
Yeah.
So is Florida's, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
I mean, Florida should be good at every Olympic sport with how many athletes move down there to go to high school in warm weather.
And it's year-round sports for them,
exactly.
too. Like, that's also their swimming program.
Florida should never be bad at any sport ever.
If it's got to be played outside, absolutely not.
No, literally ever.
Individual sport?
Unless it's hockey or a cold weather sport.
Seriously.
I mean, then again, though, the Lightning and the Panthers own hockey now. So
you say that now. Yeah. Look at that, too. But I love Wimbledon, man. Like, in the summertime, like, there was nothing else going on, and I didn't have a car.
You ever been?
Who? No. That's on that in the U.S. Open. Both.
Yeah.
Have to do it. So if you see me going in the summertimes 1 or 2 times, it's probably to this.
We actually, Peyton and I we almost went to the U.S. Open this summer. We were going to get tickets and go try the Honeydews.
I know.
Have you heard of those things?
Yes, I have heard about them. Yes. No, I'm cultured in tennis, like golf and everything else. Not so much so. Okay.
But preseason football, I will happily do that instead. But yes, that was one of our summer plans right before football season, and then plans changed. And that's
plans. I mean, it's just how it happens from time to time.
But no, that is one I'd love to see. What is the top of your sports bucket list?
U.S. Open, most definitely.
Nice.
U.S. Open and Wimbledon both are probably my side.
I didn't know you were such a tennis person.
Very much so. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a fat baby have gas.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
Wimbledon tennis, I'm very much into because it's action. I get an opportunity to see different matches. Like, I feel like you go to a golf event, you're going to have to pick and choose. Now, what if I pick the worst golfer of the day? You know what I'm saying? Like, how am I getting around to that?
And walk to a different one.
It's the other side of it, too. Like, the matchups I want to see is, like, going to the Masters and how hard of a ticket that is to get.
Yeah, no, that's the top of mind.
That's, like, I feel like I can always get a ticket to one of these tennis events, but not necessarily to the Masters or Pebble Beach or something like that, too.
Masters would be 1, and the World Cup would be 2 for me.
World Cup is in that conversation for you?
Yeah.
Which matchup do you have to see then?
The U.S.
The U.S.
I would love to see the U.S. play in the World Cup.
This version
next
of
summer.
it.
It is not cheap at all.
Um,
It is absolutely crazy how expensive. How much do you think a 300 level ticket would be to see the U.S. play in the World Cup next year?
For that, about 125. I mean, there's so many matches.
At a zero,
$1,200
at least.
No way.
At least.
See, we can't.
It's over $1,000 to go see the U.S. play in the World Cup next summer.
300 level.
I'm almost happy. This is copium. This is coping. I'm almost happy now that Nashville did not get World Cup games because it would have been harder to just watch them happen in my city.
Yeah.
And not go because I can't justify spending that much money on tickets to do really anything.
Would have frustrated you
in sports,
too.
but
Yeah.
besides maybe see the Titans play at a Super Bowl or the Vols play in a national championship, it is wild. It is absolutely wild.
I throw national championship in there too.
Right.
Most
yeah, no,
definitely.
I am too. I am too. But different.
It would be tennis and NASCAR are the two that's like my side events I want to go to. I saw WrestleMania, played in the Super Bowl, and I got a feeling the NCAA championships would be elite too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, most
No doubt.
definitely.
Yeah, the cheapest this is June 15th. Just picked a random game. Match 14 of the World Cup in Atlanta. $1,729 is one of these in here.
Where is this
And
bread?
they don't even know who the teams are. Like
Where's this bread coming from? Like legitimately,
all around the world.
all around the world.
That literally the World Cup is going to be like having 100 Super Bowls in one summer next summer in the U.S.
That's elite.
Every single game is like hosting the Super Bowl.
Our closest is to Atlanta.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure something out.
615-737-1045 is our number. There was a column at on3.com yesterday saying Kalen DeBoer is still acing his first test as Alabama's head coach. How would you grade Kalen DeBoer's job at Bama after one season heading into year two? We'll dive into that next.
7:01, good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. Not much news in the NFL, but in the NBA, a couple things. The Orlando Magic agreed to a reported 5-year, $239 million max contract extension with forward Paolo Banchero for the richest contract in Magic history. It also has a player option for the 2030 and 31 season. If Banchero is either All-NBA, MVP, or Defensive Player of the Year next season, he'll get an extra $48 million on his contract, which will elevate it to a supermax, totaling $287 million. Banchero won Rookie of the Year and was also an All-Star in 2024. In other NBA news, the Indiana Pacers confirmed yesterday that star point guard Tyrese Halliburton will miss the entire 2025-26 season after surgery to repair a torn right Achilles that he suffered in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Halliburton averaged 18.6 points, 9.2 assists, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.4 steals in 73 games last season, and was also selected to the All-NBA third team. In Major League Baseball yesterday, San Diego Padres third baseman Manny Machado became the 5th active player in the MLB and 297th player all-time to reach 2,000 career hits in their game last night against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Machado entered the night 2 hits shy of 2,000, but had 3 hits for good measure, including a solo shot home run for hit 2001. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Seven a.m., hour 2, getting started on this Tuesday. This is Ramon and Will, fueled by Scooters Coffee, locally owned near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. 615-737-1045. How you jump in. The F&M Bank chat is open on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. That is where you interact directly with us. Ramon Foster, Justin Hawkins, I'm Will Bowling. Ramon, how would you grade Kalen DeBoer's first year at Alabama? Is it fair to say that he is acing it in Tuscaloosa entering year 2?
Is it clear to say that?
Is it fair to say that?
Is it fair to say that? Yeah, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I thought the boogeyman had left, and it seems like all the superpowers got behind Kalen DeBoer after last year and decided, yep, this is how we're going to go do it. I'll say this as far as the offseason goes. Last year's record, of course, what were they last year? 9-4?
9-3 last year in the regular season.
9-3 in the regular season.
I won't even count bowl games where half of rosters are up today.
That's fair, but it's also Alabama, too. And that's the other side. Are we holding Alabama under the Nick Saban rules of operating?
I don't think we can.
We don't think we can. Well,
I don't think anybody can be held to the Nick Saban standard because he's one of one.
Yeah, he is, and that's the only reason. I'm bringing it up is we're saying we don't. You know, what I'm saying we don't count the bowl game side of it. Well, that
he was
Bama,
9-4. Yeah, they lost to Michigan.
Yeah, that Bama version of it most definitely can't get smacked by Michigan. But yes,
I don't think that part of it matters that much.
To answer your question, he's I think checking the box 100%. The recruiting side of it has been huge. I do want to see what Ty Simpson's going to be like at quarterback since he's an offensive-minded guy. Can he also get Ryan Williams back to the level that we thought he was? And some people I'll say, too, well, I ain't going to say some people. The conversation has been had, and I've been a part of it, that maybe he wasn't maybe it was just one play for him that did it. The spin around catch, whatever it was for him. Can he get him to grow to a different level also? And how big of an offensive explosion can the University of Alabama have? Because they hadn't lost much, if anything.
The talent acquisition is still being done at a Nick Saban level standard right now. Yeah. Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. I don't know how much you guys have been paying attention to the recruiting in the last couple of weeks. They are on fire on the recruiting trail right now. Kalen DeBoer and his staff have picked up commitments from 4 5-star prospects since June 26th. There are good SEC programs that haven't picked up 4 5-star commitments in the last 5 years. Truly.
Yeah.
I mean, Ole Miss was on the doorstep of making the college football playoff last year. They don't get 5 stars like this. Not since Hugh Freeze left. Lane Kiffin does not recruit 5 stars out of high school. Kalen DeBoer picking up Cedarian Morgan out of Alabama. Benjamin Russell, a safety. Jere Edwards from Maryland, St. Francis Academy, powerhouse program up there near Baltimore. Linebacker Xavier Griffin, running back Xavier Crowell. So Kalen DeBoer's Alabama class now is 5th nationally in the Rivals industry ranking. There are 9 commitments for Kalen DeBoer in the top 101 nationally. Ryan Grubb is there now as the OC. Ty Simpson at quarterback with a plethora of options in the pass game. You talked about Ryan Williams, the Oakland Patriot product, the Miami transfer. Isaiah Horton is going to play a huge role for them this year. Jeremy Bernard. I mean, the list goes on of the different talented offensive weapons at his disposal, and the defense too, which is almost equally loaded. How well do you think Nick Saban would have done in Alabama with that roster last year?
With that roster last year?
I think that's the question you got to answer when talking about grading Kalen DeBoer's first year.
It was a matter of Jalen Burrow to me when it comes down to him.
I think that team had a very limited ceiling last year.
Very much so. And here's the other side of it, too. What version of Jalen Burrow would Nick Saban have asked of him, too? Because I feel like we saw Jalen Burrow become more of a passer. And I feel like in the version of Alabama football with Nick Saban, he'd have been more of a run option quarterback more than he actually was last year.
Kind of what he became at the end of the season. Like when that went over LSU, they started to lean and said, oh, if we just run him all the time, then, maybe he is the best version of himself. I
think, and I say this with a lot of respect in saying this because coaches are supposed to care, but I feel like Kalen DeBoer cared too much about what the player thought. I think he put Jalen Milroe's future ahead of what the Alabama program was. And what I mean by that, trying to make him into a passer, try to get him to be a guy that's showing that, hey, here's my resume for the NFL.
Trying to turn him into Michael Penix.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you this was probably part of the conversation when he came in with Jalen Milroe. Hey, I want to be that version that you made him be. But it didn't help Alabama at all. And again, he'll grow as an NFL prospect at quarterback. But as far as the University of Alabama goes, I think they underserved him and the school by having him be the passer that he proven not to be last year. Here's the other part, too, real quick on the recruiting side that Alabama's doing with these top rankings. USC right now has 31 commitments and they're number 1 overall right now. They got 1 5-star. Right. Georgia's got 1 5-star with 27 commitments right now. Alabama's number 5 with 19. Everybody else above them got 20-plus commitments. So when they finally start cooking with these 4 and 3 stars, they're probably going to march up. But what you also talk about, too, is articles have been written and people have spoken about college football in the sense that you win national championships by getting what? 4 and 5-star guys.
Yeah, recruiting is directly correlated to success in this sport.
It may not be this year or the next year, but as it stands right now, Bama's got 5, and you just mentioned it.
Yep.
They got 5 5-stars. If you believe that the playmakers are blue chippers, don't be surprised if Kalen DeBoer can get that offense and a standard of football to where Alabama football is choking everybody out, that they're back in the show.
Right.
It sucks. I hate them. I hate even speaking as well about them right now at this point, Will, but he could.
Right. I think the only difference between Alabama last year with or without Kalen DeBoer is the Vandy game. Honestly, I don't think Nick Saban's losing to Vandy in Nashville.
No.
I think he probably still loses to Oklahoma. I mean, and how quickly we forget. They were very close to being a 5-loss team, losing at home to South Carolina last year.
100% facts.
Very close to losing that game.
Yeah.
I think the era of today's college football is going to make it impossible for people not named Nick Saban to have Nick Saban level results. Nick Saban lived in the perfect era of college football where the curve was not flattened with name, image, and likeness in a world where Felix Ojo, the number 2 left tackle in the country, can go to Texas Tech. Nick Saban never had to recruit in that world until the very end of his tenure as Alabama's head coach. Until the very end. So he was winning national championships when Alabama had the major advantage of resources and facilities and, probably money. I'm not saying Nick Saban was handing out McDonald's bags the way his guy Jeremy Pruitt was in Knoxville.
They weren't. It wasn't bags that you can break.
But
it was just
we can all be adults here. The major program's been paying players for a long time. Tennessee probably has to. Like, genuinely. Like, it's happening everywhere.
What do they say? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Right. So I think that's the thing with Alabama. And Ari Wasserman was the one that wrote the column at On 3 saying Kalen DeBoer is still acing his first test as Alabama's head coach. The standard isn't to be Saban because that's not fair to anyone, both at Alabama or any other top-level program in college football. The standard is to be excellent, build one of the best rosters in college football, and win. Recruiting always, always, always has to be there where there's nothing else to discuss. It's Ari Wasserman at On 3. He's 100% right.
Yeah, he is.
And I can't guarantee you that last year's Alabama team doesn't also go 9-3 under Nick Saban. Because that is the era of college football that we live in today. It is harder as ever to stockpile talent and replace one NFL draftee with a 5-star freshman that's waited his turn. That 5-star freshman is transferring within the conference to the recruiter that also he liked in high school. Like, take a look at Isaiah Bond going from Alabama to Texas. I mean, you take a look at a lot of these guys that have moved around. Jermaine Burton going from Georgia to Alabama. It's happening everywhere where nobody is immune to transfers and 5-star freshmen say, you know what? I may be stuck behind a guy that's going to be a future first-round pick here, but I wouldn't be over there, and I can go win a championship wherever over there is.
Yeah, no doubt. And the other part for DeBoer, too, is seeing which side of, to your point, the recruiting he's going to sell out for. Will it be for these high school 5-stars to say, hey, we need you here, we can't have you transfer out? Or will he buy more into the transfer portal where he can go get a seasoned veteran guy, right? The luxury that Kalen DeBoer has this year, to me, is something that most schools don't have. He's got a backup quarterback in Ty Simpson that's been there for years, that has a level of security and maturity, that understands how to navigate this football season right now. Like, Ty Simpson is one of the first ones to go from the pre-NIL to the actual NIL era and stay at one program. Right. And we'll see, of course, how he manages that, if Ty can absolutely run that offense and being in it in 2 years. If he does, then Alabama's going to be right back where you need him to, because he's a 5-star prospect himself out of the state of Tennessee.
Now, all that being said, with Kalen DeBoer, and he's acing it right now, and he's recruiting well, another 9-3 season doesn't help you, because now it's results time for Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. Regardless of who your quarterback is, it's your job to get it right.
Right.
And if Ty Simpson isn't the guy and doesn't live up to those high expectations, that's on you for not getting someone better. That's on you for not recruiting someone in Keelan Russell that you feel like can play immediately. And maybe Keelan Russell does come in eventually. I'm skeptical. I think Ty Simpson's the guy long term, but Alabama has to now take that next step. And if they are not a playoff team, people in Tuscaloosa are not going to care about how good the recruiting is.
That's true.
Because 2 straight years without being a playoff team, coming off of what they had under Saban, fair or unfair to Kalen DeBoer, the vultures will start circling in Tuscaloosa if that happens.
He won't get the grace that Dabo got and Clemson.
Different level of expectations at different programs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And looking at their schedule too, is not necessarily a cakewalk, depending upon what South Carolina's quarterback does.
And they go to Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah.
They get Tennessee and LSU at home. To Missouri. Again, Missouri, a team I think a lot of people are overlooking.
They got a black hole
in the
of a
SEC
place,
this
man.
year.
Yep.
Georgia hosting Alabama September the 27th, and then the Iron Bowls at Auburn this year. Oklahoma goes to Tuscaloosa this year, and that's a game, again, where Alabama's looking for revenge. And I know they're about a 20-point favorite, but Diego Pavia is the Alabama state champion. October 4th.
This is very true.
It's not. There's just facts only.
It's the way you say it.
He's the Alabama state champion.
That's the way you say it.
He owns Auburn and Alabama.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Very interesting year upcoming down in Tuscaloosa this year.
It is. I don't think Wisconsin's going to be a test for them early.
No, not at all.
But yeah, they're going to have to get it together quick.
To FSU week 1. Another interesting one. Alabama in Tallahassee. So we'll see. They played an ACC team and a Big Ten team. Credit where it's due. That is trying to put your best foot forward in scheduling. Now those 2 teams aren't great Power 4 teams, but Florida State has a chance to be pretty decent.
But the first week is always tricky.
Yeah,
Always
right.
is.
You don't know what you have.
Never
we
know what
thought
you
Florida
have.
State had the best D-line in the country last year, and Georgia Tech ran for 700 yards against them. I'm exaggerating, but it felt like it.
But it's right, though.
The conversion rate of yards in Dublin to the U.S., they ran for, about 250, 300? That converts to about 700.
It does. I was going to say 800.
615-737-1045 is our number. Who are the top 5 quarterbacks in pro football? Ramon Foster tells you on the Foster 5 next.
It's Ramon Foster for Bronze Motorsports. Yes, that Bronze Motorsports, man. They are having one of the biggest parties this weekend in Hendersonville, man. It's the Ultimate Motorsports weekend with the Bronze Motorsports pre-party open house for the Southeastern Truck Nationals. It is this Friday, July 11th at 5 p.m. They are going to have live DJs, giveaways, food trucks, and of course, you will see a jaw-dropping showcase of beautiful rides. I've gone before, listen to me, from classics to really custom vehicles, man, cars and trucks. It's stuff you've seen on cars that you've never seen before, man. All in Hendersonville. Listen to me. It will be on Main Street, man, exactly where Bronze Motorsports is. The address is 789 West Main Street in Hendersonville if you haven't been there before. But, of course, bring the family. Hang out with the fellow enthusiasts and soak up the incredible atmosphere. I promise you, it's going to be well worth it, man. It'll be a nice, chill day in Hendersonville. Come see Bronze Motorsports, man. Of course, address again is 789 West Main Street. And be sure to tell them that Ramon sent you there. If you've been struggling to choose where to go to for TRT, look no further than Synergex and Low T Center. Listen to me. The new Synergex Health app is a superior innovation in healthcare technology that you won't find anywhere else. With the app, you can book your appointments, view your lab results too, so you can see your health right in front of you, or have face-to-face telehealth visits, receive medication reminders. You can order your supplements, pre-check into the visit, and more. You can take control of your health easier than before. All right. With Synergex and Low T Center, they have been changing patient lives for a combined 25 years too, man. Not only have they dominated the history of men's health, but together they are pioneering the future for Synergex Health app that utilize the technology to deliver patient care beyond any men's health service out. All right. You can trust Synergex and Low T Center to maximize your health and get you feeling better and your best with the added convenience of the Synergex Health app. It is just that easy too. All you need to do is book an appointment and walk into any Synergex or Low T Center before 10 a.m. The test is simple. It only takes about 20 minutes to get your results too. Once you qualify, you can start the treatment the same day. So download the Synergex app or book an appointment today by visiting fixmylowt.com. That is fixmylowt.com.
The Foster 5 continues this morning on Ramon and Will with the 11-year NFL veteran and Vol Network analyst, Ramon Foster. Justin Hawkins making the show happen. I'm Will Boulding. Of course, Ramon and Will is fueled by Scooter's Coffee. Locally owned, Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Ramon, I think that 80% of our next exercise is very easy.
Yep.
I think 20% of it is very challenging in ranking the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Is it fair to say 4 have broken away in their own league, and then picking the 5th guy is really the tough part?
That was the hardest part.
Yep, me too.
Number 5.
Because I made this ranking as well, and I'll do mine after yours. Then we'll do honorable mentions coming up in about 20 minutes. But it is interesting the different types of quarterbacks at the top of their game in the NFL right now. Obviously, everyone chasing Patrick Mahomes, but you could make the argument that Patrick Mahomes is not number 1 on this list right now.
You could try to make that argument, and I think there's
I'm not going to do it, but you could.
Yeah, you absolutely could try, and I think there's a person that has a stronghold over him, but that person and that team and that city doesn't have the clutch gene, if you get what I'm saying, in this situation.
I do get what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't born into them, so they just don't have it, is the way I feel about one of those guys. So, yeah, but I love them. Like you said, I think 80% we're good.
So I'm tempted to start at number 1.
Let's do that one.
Because I feel like it's going to be more interesting who is at the bottom of this list.
Yeah.
Tell me who you got at the number 1 best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Better not say his half name when his mom was around. Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean?
It has to be.
It's Pat.
Still has to be.
Statistically, didn't have the season that I think that he wanted or consider him the top guy, but it's Patrick Mahomes and the things that he's capable of doing and what he's meant to. Football and any time that he's been out a year, they find a way to get right back to it too. He's good. Every throw he can make, deep passes, across the middle, comebacks, running the offense, improving. He does everything you want him to do. Absolutely, Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league.
Last season for Mahomes, 19 games, 67% completion, 4,607 passing yards, including the playoffs, just 6.9 yards per attempt. 31 passing touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 4 rushing touchdowns on 389 rushing yards. The first time Mahomes finished below 4,000 passing yards as a full-time starter in his career. That is insane.
Yeah. Think about that.
The first time he's finished under 4,000 passing yards. We're still waiting for a Titans quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards.
And he just, like cards, just dishing them. Whatever you need one. He's got an ace in the hole, too.
I think for many of these, and we'll talk about this more on who is the 5th best quarterback, you have to take into account who these guys are throwing to. And at the end of the day, who is elevating the guys around them, or who has got an offense that most quarterbacks in the league would succeed in.
Yeah.
And Mahomes was throwing to a bunch of guys. Not a lot of dudes, just a bunch of guys in 2024.
Yeah.
Who's number 2 on your list?
I think the most dangerous man in all of football, Lamar Jackson.
I have him on my list as well at number 2. I'm with you.
Yeah. Just his ability to take over the game with his legs and with his arms now. As he's in Baltimore is getting better wide receiver help. I feel like he understands the offense a little bit more, and he's learning also how to pace himself throughout the course of these games a little bit more. His maturity as a quarterback, I think, is somewhat being understated, to be quite honest with you, because he knows when to throw the ball versus running it. I feel like better than any quarterback we've seen. I would say this, even more so than Patrick Mahomes, because the threat of Lamar is a whole lot greater than anybody else in the NFL right now. His ability to hit the line of scrimmage and still hit a guy across the middle, if I don't know what Baltimore's problem is. Patrick, I guess? Mahomes?
I mean, just doing it in the playoffs.
In the playoffs.
Is the problem. And, yeah, a guy named Patrick. And last year, a guy named Josh.
It's that for me.
Well, it's just the QB play in the AFC is so high.
Yeah.
That one bad performance, and heck, even one bad half, and it's all over. All over.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
And for
100%.
him and for the guys that we're mentioning, like their defenses play a bigger part, I feel like, than almost any other thing that's going on in the game. Because to your point, you make one mistake, you're probably not going to get the ball back or have the ability to score again if you don't have a defense.
Career best totals in passing touchdowns and passing yards last year for Lamar Jackson. 45 passing touchdowns, just 5 interceptions, 4,601 passing yards, 67% completion, rushes for 1,000 again, 1,035 rushing yards total in his 19 games, 4 rushing touchdowns. For me, he was the MVP of the league. It felt like we got, as NFL MVP voters, Lamar Jackson fatigue, just the way we've gotten Patrick Mahomes fatigue as well. And Mahomes didn't put up MVP numbers last year. He was not even in the conversation, but he was very close to his 3rd MVP last season. So 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson, 2nd on your list. I would agree. To me, it's almost 2A. And the other 2 guys that we're about to get to next, just in whatever order, take your pick, are 2B and 2C.
Yeah.
Because there are 3 guys that I think are right on the same level behind Patrick right now.
Facts. In this, I got Josh Allen next.
I do too.
Because of, we can talk about both one and the same right here
Sure.
if you want to. I look at Joe Burrow and I say, poor Joe. Not in the sense of valuation, but just like poor Joe. Any other franchise is almost what I want to say.
Right. I agree. I also look at who Joe's throwing to.
Well, yeah. That's that.
The way I view this is, and it's a little unfair to Joe Burrow, who had MVP numbers last year. His team just stunk. His defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, so it didn't matter. How many quarterbacks would be successful with Zach Taylor as their head coach and play caller, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase as their wide receivers?
And insert running back, who they are.
I think
production.
Half of the quarterbacks in this league with league average defensive play are playoff teams with those wide receivers to throw to.
Yeah.
Like, how good is Brock Purdy in the Bengals offense? And I think Brock Purdy's a top 10 quarterback in this league.
Yeah.
But that is where I say Josh Allen gets the nod over Joe Burrow. Is Josh Allen had a bunch of, again, guys, not dudes that he's throwing to.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
They're still scrambling for those guys. They're waiting on Keon
100%.
Coleman to turn into that dude this year.
And Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. Like, it's no disrespect to any of those players.
Yeah.
And, I love Dawson. I've noticed since we were in middle school.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are a little bit different. It's more of a positive to those two than it is a knock on any of the other ones.
No doubt. I'm saying a comment real quick. I want to know how you feel. But we got Trey in our YouTube chat. Y'all can check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Those, I get them all.
Facebook Live.
Facebook Live. Them two. Can't forget our Facebook folks. He said, give me Josh Allen over Lamar. I say no.
Why not?
Legs, a little bit different. Speed, a little bit different. I feel like with Josh Allen, I'm waiting on the ball to drop on him having a shoulder injury because he hadn't learned quite yet not to hit a guy or to slide rather than jump over the top of the pile. So give me Lamar plus with the speed and his duality of knowing, like, he slides now better than almost anybody.
Sure, and it does feel like they are used in the run games in different ways, right?
Way. He's red zone, I feel like.
Josh Allen is a red zone machine.
Yeah.
He's in the same community as Cam Newton as a red zone running threat.
Elite
That
era,
if you got within the 10-yard line, you knew that he is, as Mike Keith has called him on our show, a single wing tailback playing quarterback.
I agree with you there.
Josh Allen, 636 rushing yards, 14 rushing touchdowns last year.
Sick.
Lamar Jackson, 1,035 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. I think if you were, and again, like to the point about who they're throwing to, Lamar Jackson's not throwing to a lot of walking
Tight
gold
ends.
jackets either.
Yeah.
I mean, Zay Flowers is a very good football player. Rashad Bateman, when healthy, is a pretty good football player. Mark Andrews is an excellent tight end. But also, we also still both put Lamar Jackson second on this list. Josh Allen, to me, is not quite as dynamic with the ball in his hand as Lamar is. It's splitting hairs. I think you can make an argument for any of these 3 guys being second, third, or fourth. And I think you can, if you pick your narrative, you can tell a story that I think gives you enough reasoning to say, yep, Joe Burrow's number 2. Yep, Lamar Jackson's number 2 or Josh Allen's number 2. I'm good with any of those 3.
I asked the question, though. We say put Brock Purdy in that Cincinnati offense. The question is, if you put Josh Allen in the Cincinnati offense, is there a better operation of it, considering his ability to run, and Joe is anti-run right now? I ain't going to say he's anti. He's strategic in
Joe
his run.
also has a turnstile of an offensive line every time he drops back, which is also part of it.
I'd love to know what he looked like in that Zach Taylor offense, though, to be quite honest with you. But I'll say this, and this is what I was going to get to earlier too.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen is in a city on a team that doesn't have the win gene in their DNA. They can't get past it because I think his record against Patrick is 3-1.
I don't know if that's totally fair.
But the point is, to me, is they can't figure out the playoffs just like Lamar them can't either. And historically, it's the issue for Buffalo to me.
But if we're making that argument, last year, Josh Allen beat Lamar Jackson in the playoffs.
He did, but he can't get past Patrick in the playoffs.
Neither can Baltimore.
Yeah,
the only guy that can is Burrow.
It's Burrow. And he hadn't done it since 21. Yeah.
Dustin on YouTube says, very much disagree here, Ramon. Josh Allen, by far, his understanding of defenses makes him different for Lamar. Lamar is just an athlete. Nah, that's borderline disrespect.
And see, that's why I was getting at with my point of like Lamar's quarterback IQ is high.
Lamar Jackson only threw 5 interceptions last year. Josh Allen threw 6.
What we're doing here?
Lamar Jackson's understanding of defenses is elite.
Has netted him.
His processing ability is elite. It is totally unfair to Lamar Jackson to just call him an athlete.
I'm telling you.
Totally disrespectful.
Because I look at Josh Allen as a hell of an athlete too, though. In the same conversation. Different level, but like, I think the plays that he's making, he's taking his athleticism to the forefront and saying, watch this too.
Before we get to 5th on this list, another question on YouTube. This was the toughest guy for me to judge. Where a commenter writes in and says, how about Jalen Hurts? He and the Eagles won that game that counted the most. Is he number 5 for you?
As for me and my list, we will not slander Jalen Hurts.
He's number 5 on your list.
He's number 5 on my list.
See, he's not even close.
You want to know why?
Not even close.
You want to know why, though? Because, yes, I understand he has a team that's surrounding him. He's got 2 premier All-Pro, Pro Bowl wide receivers. He's got one of the best running backs in the world. He's got one of the best defenses in the world, too. And he didn't bleep it up. You look at his efficiency when you need him the most, he shows up. Now, we get into this conversation about role players, scheme players, and you know what? He's not messing it up. He has a guy that played behind him. I know he's a backup, but Kenny Pickett goes into a game and absolutely implodes that offense. Jalen Hurts is playing in a style that allows him to be an elite. I would throw in there for that offense and for what that team needs. It's not a whole lot. But to me, he's not messing it up, and he's also winning, and he's got the Super Bowls behind it to back it up. When you need him and he's been challenged, he's knocked at that door every single time. I think he has it.
I don't think Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
You don't think he's a top 10?
I don't.
I need to hear who's your 5 first.
I'll tell you who my 5th one is coming up. But first, my reasoning on Jalen Hurts is I genuinely believe there are 10 quarterbacks in this league that are Super Bowl champs if you plucked them off their team and put them on the Eagles last year. Legitimately believe that.
Are they willing to run the tush push?
Yeah, sure. Josh Allen, you think Josh Allen wouldn't have 30 rushing touchdowns with a tush push? No, maybe not 30. Josh Allen, again, maybe isn't the best example because we already ranked him ahead. I think C.J. Stroud, let's go by division. C.J. Stroud, Super Bowl in Philly.
No.
Trevor Lawrence, Super Bowl in Philly. Bo Nix, I would say borderline. He's at least getting to the NFC Championship. Justin Herbert, Super Bowl winner in Philly. Sam Darnold, he did kind of mess it up, so I won't go that far. In the NFC North, Jordan Love, Super Bowl winner as a Philadelphia Eagle. Jared Goff, 100%, is winning the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. Baker Mayfield, no doubt the way he played last season.
Well, I'm letting
no
you finish.
question the way he played last season. Brock Purdy, yep. Matthew Stafford, yep. Geno Smith, nah. No, I'm not going to say Geno. Not Dak Prescott. He'd find a way to mess it up. Nobody on the New York Giants. Jayden Daniels, yes. I think legitimately 10 different quarterbacks beyond the 4 we've already listed could be Super Bowl winners. Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but I just think there are a lot of good quarterbacks in the league right now. I'm going to tell you who my number 5 is. You're going to be shocked coming up in just a minute.
So my thing is this, though, too. You can't knock a guy for what's provided for him.
I'm not knocking him.
There's always the ability to find a better version of it.
Yeah.
But the way he's operating this offense and making the plays and the throws, like, to me, look at his stat line. Like, his ability to complete is there. His ability to run is there. His ability to make guys better and know how to manage that diva crew that involves A.J. Brown. to me signifies that he's a top 5 guy in this league, Will. And on top of it, like I said, he hasn't messed it up. Do they want more from him? Yeah, but that's what the offense is allowing for him. When there was times for him to answer that call in the playoffs, he absolutely did that and murdered everybody in his way while doing it too.
69% completion in 18 games, 3,629 yards for Jalen Hurts last season, 8 yards per attempt, 23 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
Cooked.
He was
On
good.
top of a Super
824
Bowl.
Rushing yards, 19 rushing touchdowns.
On top of a Super Bowl.
I think behind that offensive line with the real MVP, Lamar Jackson, I think, was the MVP, but the offensive player of the year at running back, it's Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I think that is the product of a really, 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 really good supporting cast.
So
he's a good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. I just think I can give you 9 other better ones.
The other side of it is, for me, other teams have had this type of setup. Like I look at San Francisco and the 49ers and Purdy. But like Purdy hadn't been able to get over that hump like that either.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's other guys that you've mentioned. Like,
I don't think his cast is as good though.
Is it his fault?
If his
I mean,
elbow doesn't get hurt in the NFC Championship game, he probably beats Jalen Hurts.
The same thing is also said about Brady though. Like, was it Bill or was it Brady? Like, this is the exact same conversation when you look at. I think it's a perfect marriage between coach, team, and quarterback because you need certain quarterbacks to be able to have to deal with this type of stuff.
Again, I think he's a really good quarterback.
Yeah, I got him top 5.
I don't have a number 5.
Okay, I can't wait to hear you.
I've got an NFC quarterback at number 5 that we need to put some more respect on. And I'll tell you who it is next. Everybody wants to move to Nashville, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily simple to sell your home. You need a local agent with years of experience. You need a proven track record. Don't go with one of the national guys that doesn't know anything about you, your goals, where you want to be, the area you're even trying to move into. You need Bernie Gallerani. What's up? It's Will Bowling. My friend Bernie Gallerani guarantees to sell your home in 30 days or less, or he'll buy it. Yeah, that's right. No risk to you. Bernie will let you out of the contract at any time. He is the real estate agent who has the 30-day guarantee to sell your home, and if not, he will buy it from you. In fact, he's so confident, he's given you his personal cell phone. And guys, the fact that this is a 615 number speaks volumes. You want a 615 number on your side when you're trying to sell your home and relocate. 615-428-2644. He is the only agent in Nashville recommended by Barbara Corcoran of Shark Tank. Give Bernie Gallerani a call, 615-428-2644, or head online to BernieGallerani.com.
When couples walk into Genesis Diamonds, their eyes get so big. It's a mind-blowing display of sparkling jewelry with literally thousands of choices when it comes to an engagement ring, all right? All the styles she's been seeing online are right there in your face. But the experts at Genesis make them feel totally at ease, all right? They're offered a beverage when you walk in. They ask a lot of questions about your style and your taste, too. They're also given a no-holds-barred education. They are even told the secrets of the jewelry business. The consultants at Genesis are not on commission. They are not retail clerks. They are not transaction focused. They can spend 30 minutes with you or they can spend 3 hours with you. It doesn't matter. You can see dozens and dozens of diamonds in an array of sizes and shapes and color grades too. You can see handcrafted rings from all the top designers that other stores aren't even allowed to carry, all right? You can see the difference between a diamond that is properly cut and one you might see at one of those online shops, all right? The difference will blow you away. Bottom line, Genesis will take away all the risk, all the mystery, all the confusion, and help you make a decision that you will be confident in for years to come. Genesis Diamonds, a true direct importer with rock bottom prices and a luxury experience with no compromises. Genesis Diamonds, they're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Ramona Will on 104.5 The Zone is fueled by Scooters Coffee, locally owned in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Oh, nothing gets the people going like a quarterback ranking in July, Ramon Foster.
Into it, man.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I do too.
Absolutely love it. I think there are arguments to be made for everyone beyond one. Bama fan for life, 41 on Twitter at Ramon and Will. Says Will's take on Jalen Hurts is going to wind up getting him a drug test, talking crazy like that.
Oh, yeah, I can send him straight to your house, Will.
I am
Go and get that
fully
sample.
of sound mind. Ramon, it's time to admit something. Baker Mayfield's the 5th best quarterback in the NFL.
Stop.
I'm dead serious.
Stop.
Dead
Stop.
serious.
You should leave. Yeah, let's go and get that drug test.
Baker Mayfield last season, you know how good he was last year? And you know how many players were hurt on his offense last year?
Yeah.
On the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield last season threw for 4,685 yards, 8 yards per attempt, 43 passing touchdowns, 16 interceptions, and Chris Godwin was out in week 7. Mike Evans missed 3 games. Baker Mayfield kept Tampa afloat at the top of the NFC South with nearly a 5,000-yard season with guys that many casual NFL fans had never even heard of at wide receiver. I think it is time to put some respect on Baker Mayfield's name. Now, Liam Cohen helped. We have talked about the surrounding cast and supporting cast. If I'm going to knock Jalen Hurts for it, I've got to still give credit where it's due on the things around Baker Mayfield. I think we clearly know how good Liam Cohen is for a quarterback as a play caller.
Yeah.
As an offensive play caller, somebody putting their team in the best position to win. To me, it was between Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff for the 5th spot. And the way Jared Goff didn't rise to the occasion when his team needed him, when he had a crazy supporting cast around him, was the difference. I think Baker Mayfield did more with less than anyone else in the league, so I'm putting him 5.
I can't put him 5 for this reason right here, man. I love the new career that Baker's made for himself. I love the idea that he is a better leader. I feel like he is a better player. Heck, he got away from the Cleveland Browns. He went to L.A. for a minute, and he found a system that's working for him. The issue that I have with saying Baker Mayfield is number 5 in this group is he didn't beat any really good teams last year either. The teams that he ended up losing to, for the most part, were all but lost to Baltimore. What was Atlanta? Lost to Kansas City in overtime, and also lost to the 49ers before they got hot against. This is where I'm at more than anything. Yes, he beat the teams he was supposed to, which is a part of the job too. But the Giants, the Panthers, trash. The Raiders, the Chargers, so-so. End up losing to the Cowboys at the Cowboys too. And then, of course, the division is the Panthers and New Orleans. I think he's benefiting from the bad NFC South. I think he's benefiting from the side that he has one Hall of Fame wide receiver, maybe another French guy that gets the Hall of Good in the stadium. But I don't see him as being one of those guys. I look at him and say, yes, I think he's exciting for this era, for a team that has a defensive head coach, but I don't think he warrants the top 5. I get the stat line, though. He cooked. I got to give him that. He cooked.
Fair argument. But look what he did against Philly last year. In a win, mind you.
In a win.
They beat the Eagles 33-16, and Baker Mayfield threw for 347 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Against the Baltimore defense, Tampa scored 31 points. He went 31 of 45, 69% completion, 370 yards, 3 touchdowns, couple of picks.
And still lost.
Yeah, they gave up 41 points. What do you want him to do?
I get you there.
He can't defend Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. He can only play offense. But he's not Travis Hunter.
But see, that's the other side for my Jalen Hurts conversation, though, too, is that is a good team, and he's choosing not to mess it up. Like, he has the ability to understand what that team needs in that point. But I can't put Baker. I would put Justin Herbert up there before I put him up there. And I think Herbert is probably 6 or 7 on this list more than anything. Herbert,
I think that's fair, too.
Yes.
Which is, again, why I have Jalen Hurts at like 11 or 12. Because there are so many good quarterbacks. It's not even a slight on any of these guys. I just think there are a lot of good options, and the quarterback position is in a very good spot in this league right now.
One of the strongest, I think, has ever been in the history of the NFL.
Because you have an older generation of guys that are in different spots getting better.
Yeah.
In Darnold, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield. Not to say that those guys are in this top 5, top 10 discussion, but they are good NFL quarterbacks that are middle of the road.
I get you.
The middle of the road NFL quarterbacks are good retreads. Heck, Jared Goff is a good retread after he was just cut off by LA. And then you got young rookies in CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels that I think are entering this discussion. I almost put Jaden Daniels 5, to be quite honest with you.
I thought about it.
I'd put him ahead of Jalen Hurts right now because look what he did with less around him last year.
I'll put him above Baker, who he lost to in the playoffs too, by the way.
23-20 that game.
But he lost to a rookie.
Tampa was real close to ending that run that Washington had to the NFC Championship.
And then the cardiac Commanders made it happen is what happened in that moment right there. I'll be quite honest with you though, Will. I'm putting Jared Goff above Baker Mayfield at this point.
Jared Goff, I'm willing to hear arguments on.
Yeah,
I think it's fair.
I'm putting Goff
71% completion for Goff, 4,942 yards in 18 games, 38 touchdowns. It was the 15 picks for me that made the difference.
Yeah, that's fair. They also throw the ball.
I mean, heck, Baker Mayfield had 16. But for me, like, with all the help that he had, I'm less willing to excuse 15 picks than I am for Baker Mayfield, who's throwing to lesser-known commodities once Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were hurt.
Baker stirred the drink last year. I'll give him that. His importance to what Tampa is as a franchise definitely is high, right? I'll give you that. I can understand the conversation saying most quarterbacks will succeed in that Philadelphia offense without question. They got the line, they got the running back, they got the wide receivers. But it also takes a special person to understand not to mess it up. That's why I think the conversation never ends. Was it Bill or was it Brady? Because both of them had to make it work, and neither one of them messed it up. I think there's talent in that too. Mm-hmm. Knowing when to get out the way, which is, I guess, what we're watching this fall for Cam Ward. Is he going to elevate this team, or will he just get out the way and not mess it up? Which expectation do you have for him, Cam, moving forward to this 25 season? Get out the way or make them better? It's the way it's the question. Mm-hmm. Which version will we get?
615-737-1045. I mean, if you don't have the legitimate star-studded weapons around you, then getting out of the way for what? Who are you getting out of the way for?
To not.
Calvin Ridley and who?
Yeah.
So you got to elevate some guys.
We may have to have that conversation later.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mike in Cleveland on YouTube says, "Will go home." In the great words of the greatest college football coach of all time, I'm not going to, so quit asking. Stream the show live, 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Love you, Mike. Says, Will just wants a hot take. I don't think Baker Mayfield being a top 5 quarterback is a hot take.
I can understand the why.
I just don't think people are paying attention to him because they look at the Bucs as a non-serious contender. That's all this is. If you really look at the numbers and watch the games, I think you can make this argument. I think you can make the argument for 5 other players as top 5 quarterbacks. This is not a hot take.
Yeah.
It's not.
I hear you.
I'm not the hot take shock jock guy.
If
I do a lot of dumb things, that is not one dumb thing that I do.
Would you sit Cam for a year and let Baker start for this team?
Oh, well, I mean, I got a lot of follow-up questions. How much am I paying him? Where did I draft Cam Ward? How much did I give up to get Baker Mayfield? Like, if I'm just Baker Mayfield just appears, well, yeah.
If you were planning for the future and you already had Baker in the year that he had, and you still take Cam number 1 overall, like, dude, I know that's not possible.
You're doing some mental
it's
gymnastics
not possible.
here.
But what I'm saying is, are you willing to sit Cam Ward to start Baker Mayfield?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I think he's a very good quarterback.
Okay.
615-737-1045. Where did NFL executives, coaches, and writers rank Jeffrey Simmons on ESPN.com's list of top 10 defensive tackles? We'll tell you next.
8:01, good morning, live from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. In NBA news yesterday, the Orlando Magic and forward Paolo Banchero agreed to a massive 5-year, $239 million max extension. It's the richest contract in Orlando Magic history. A caveat in the contract: if Banchero is either All-NBA, MVP, or Defensive Player of the Year next season, he'll get an extra $48 million on that contract, elevating it to a supermax contract totaling $287 million. In Major League Baseball, San Diego Padres third baseman Manny Machado became the 5th active player in MLB and 297th player all-time to reach 2,000 career hits last night in their game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Machado entered the night 2 hits shy of 2,000, but had 3 hits for good measure, including a solo shot home run for hit number 2001. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Ramona Willow, 104.5 The Zone is fueled by Scooters Coffee. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. 615-737-1045. Scooters Coffee, amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. We have amazingly quickly, Ramon Foster, happened upon halftime of the show.
Yeah, we have.
On this Tuesday morning. Matt Ray of All Quest joins us coming up in 15 minutes. Pinch hitting for the great Austin Price this morning. Tennessee with many recruiting targets, either committing or about to commit. And we'll have the weekly questions as well about Tristan Keys, Savion Hyder, Darius Gray, all of the 5 stars Tennessee continues to consider coming up with Matt Ray here in 15 minutes. But, Ramon Foster, we have execs, coaches, and scouts ranking the top 10 defensive tackles in the NFL. Jeffrey Simmons is number 4. He was number 4 last year.
Yeah.
Staying put, one NFC executive says, still dominant versus the run. I didn't see the same pass rush explosion. Another NFL coordinator says morale gets low and it's hard to rush when you're always playing from behind. Still one of the most complete players. Your thoughts, Ramon?
No doubt. Great description of what Jeff is known for, man. Like, you look at Jeff, you see him, and instantly just with the pass, it's like, yeah, it's going to be a long day because he's going to have a lot of power and then probably a lot of anger behind him, too. It's just how I would typecast him if I was going against him, just seeing him. And he does deliver on that, man. And here's the thing, too. Jeff made that comment last year. Nobody runs on the Tennessee Titans because of him. Like, it has to play a part with everything that he's doing, and he lives that. Now, the first part what the NFC executive said, that's what Jeff's changed, like chasing. Number 1 on this list is Dexter Lawrence II. I don't think he has a strong pass rush game to him. He's just dominant at his position. But the guy, I think that's I don't want to say a 1-to-1 comparison, but the guy to me that I think Jeffrey Simmons is chasing is probably Chris Jones. His ability to be effective in the run, but also with that defense and just, he's 31, he's been around for a little bit. His ability to pick and choose how he wants to rush is something I don't think Jeffrey has in this defense that he's played in.
Well, and Chris Jones has 40 sacks in the last 4 years.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the most for defensive tackles since 2021. That's what Jeff is trying to get to for 1 year.
Yeah.
Is 10 sacks.
It's 10
That's
sacks.
a big goal for him.
And I don't want to say it's haunting him, but it's just one of the...
It's motivating him.
Definitely. That's the word
I think 10 sacks this season is motivating Jeffrey Simmons.
That's why we've seen the weight loss.
Yeah, right.
That's why we've seen him speak about his ability to get up the field. That's one of the comparisons I know he has with his uncle. His uncle's got 10 sacks. That's something Jeffrey's never done. And I do want to see if Jeff gets double-digit sacks, does it compromise his ability to stop the run? You know, like, a part of that is going to be...
It's a good question.
A part of that is also... can this offense to stay in games?
Well, we're going to talk about that coming up in hour 4, too, at 9:20, about how Jeff's weight change and different role potentially could impact Tavondre Sweat.
Yeah.
Because if a lighter Jeffrey Simmons is more of a pass rush specialist, it puts the onus on T'Vondre Sweat and maybe to a larger extent Cody Barton to pick up that slack and run defending.
Yep. It has to be. And I can't wait to discuss that with you because I think certain players are brought in for those specific reasons. It's the same way in the same article, too. They're speaking about Dexter Lawrence with the New York Giants and how Abdul Carter is going to lead to more production out of him because of the threat of his now Robin. I guess you can call Abdul Carter his Robin at this point. But, yeah, Jeff making the top 5 I think is huge for that defense. But it also, again, it begs it brings up the question over and over again, who's going to be the guy to help? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the biggest part, especially on the front 7 for Jeffrey Simmons, that has to be answered this year. Yeah. Who's going to be the next guy to help? Because they can double team Jeff all day long, especially with this lighter weight that he's at right now. Look, we're going to double him, and there's nobody else that's answering the call. You never want that to be the conversation surrounding your defense. Jeff can't make his plays because none of y'all are stepping up. And I don't want to just say Jeff and y'all, but at this point, that's the way it kind of shapes up with this defense. It's Jeffrey Simmons and the Temptations.
And who, right?
Yeah,
totally.
And who, respectfully.
Jeremy Fowler writing at ESPN.com, Jeffrey Simmons has been a staple in the top 10 due to unique power that some evaluators consider the best in the league, saying he has risen to as high as number 2 on the list because of the problems he gives opposing guards and centers. Jeremy Fowler goes on to say, evaluators are trying to make sense of his lack of production last season, including 5 sacks and 9 quarterback hits, the latter of which ranked him next to last in the top 10 or honorable mention categories among players who played most of all or all of the last season. Some cut Simmons slack, noting that playing on a bad team without much support on the outside is a factor. One coach noted that Danico Autry, a Titan from 2021 to 2023 before signing with Houston, was an underrated edge next to Simmons and that the two played off each other well, saying morale gets low and it's hard to rush when you're always playing from behind. I do think that's true.
Yeah.
There are less opportunities to get sacks when the other team's just running out leads.
Yeah. They'll just slow grind you.
100%.
A 100. And that's what you saw, too. And I do think that's why he was banged up a little bit more last year, too. It's because teams leaned on him. They absolutely said, yeah, we'll just run on you guys and figure it out what happens after this. I mean, there was a stretch where Arden Key got hot. Remember, he went on this sack run for a minute, and then it died off again.
And so did Harold Landry late in the season.
Yeah,
got hot again. He's not there.
Hot again, and he's not there anymore. So I think that's why it's just a huge focus on making sure that this group gets a group of young talent in that they can help build up to. That's why I think Olu Adeja is a part of this rebuild and trying to figure out, like how do you develop yourself into a pass rusher to where you're a homegrown guy and can help assist us immediately? Because Jalen Hurl is there, but like what's the expectation for Jalen?
7th round pick.
Exactly.
Yeah, Ollie Gay is another late round guy. I mean, you've got bodies. You don't have a lot of production in the edge rusher room. It just feels like this team, again, is relying on the same formula because they weren't able to acquire the type of edge rusher they really wanted in that big splash move. It's, again, we talk about you can't fix every problem in one offseason. You'd rather wait a year to get a guy that you love versus make it work now with someone who has major red flags and may cost you money down the road when you feel like you're more ready to compete. But they're going to just rely on Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat, again, to collapse the pocket so much that quarterbacks just kind of run straight into their edge rushers. Like they are relying on lesser-known edge rushers because they feel so good about the interior of their line.
And that the other part of that is, too, it's going to become very frustrating if those guys can't close out on those sacks. Because I feel like the conversation that we haven't had this year is what last year's was. Like the right tackle position ended up being a conversation that came up a little bit, and this year seems to be right tackle is now outside edge. Can those guys, if T'Vondre and if Jeff are flushing them out, can they actually make the plays?
It's a good point. That edge rusher kind of is this year's right tackle.
Yeah, it is.
You've got to pick one position to just throw out there and say somebody's got to step up and take it. And unfortunately, at right tackle last year, nobody really stepped up and took that job.
Or how do you hide it as a defense? Denard Wilson's got to earn it this year, 100%.
615-737-1045. Mark next up on the phones. Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen?
Not much. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, man, did y'all get a chance to watch that video from Cam Ward on YouTube last night or yesterday?
Speaking
From the
about
weekend,
what?
talking about Calvin Ridley?
Not with Calvin, but with Restrepo and a couple of more receivers and Chig.
Did not see that. No.
They were in Miami. Man, you got to check it out, man. It really gives you a glimpse of how the culture of the team is going to be. But it's a very great video. I think it's about 15 minutes long.
Okay.
But what do you guys think as far as Cam, like, interceptions-wise? I want to be realistic. How many interceptions do you think he'll throw? And I think that sideline is going to be his best friend instead of taking sacks and throwing more interceptions.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate the call. Cam, 7 interceptions last year at Miami, 16 in 2 seasons in the Pac-12. I don't know. I mean, I feel like any rookie quarterback, you set the standard at about, 15 picks?
Man, yeah.
14,
I
15
would say
picks.
about 10 to 12 minimum, probably for a rookie quarterback, because there's so much that you hadn't seen.
I think anything under 12, and you're pretty happy.
Yeah. And it's also the side to what they're going to allow him to do. If the Titans are behind, is it the Cam Ward spinach show, too? That plays a part in it. That's why I think looking at Tajay and Tony Pollard this year needs to play a huge part on how they reshifted that line. If you're asking me, I think this will be a more run-heavy than you want it to be year for Cam Ward. And I think he probably needs it, too, unless, like I said, you're really battling and he grows and you can trust him. Now, the clip that I think we both saw was the Calvin Ridley conversation.
Yeah, right. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I've not seen the whole workout video.
Yeah.
Heck, we've seen Cam work out in person with the Titans, so we've kind of seen a lot of what I think fans are seeing in that video. And yeah, I mean he is a vocal leader, and he is someone that has very clear communication of what he wants and expects from his wide receivers and pass catchers.
And the trust, too. Like, he spoke about, like, the talent of what Calvin Ridley was and how he hadn't seen that type of guy before. So it's going to be fascinating to see if they can build up a reputation with or a relationship with one another on the field, Calvin and Cam, because if they do, that should open up more for everybody else. It needs to. What's fascinating to me is I know we've had the conversation of does Restrepo make this roster or not. Cam naturally drops his name every single time.
It's his guy.
I know.
As he should. It's his boy.
Yes, 100%. He drops it every single time.
And in practices, he's relying on him quite a bit.
I don't know how. Other than slot, which they got a slot guy.
They got multiple slot guys.
Multiple slot guys. What else is his valuation? I can't wait to see how training camp unfolds.
Going to be fun. 615-737-1045 if you want to get in on the discussion. Coming up, Matt Ray of Allquest, pinch hitting for Austin Price this morning. The latest on a number of big-time Tennessee football recruiting targets coming up next.
Hey, it's Ramon Foster for All American Pest Control. Good people, I was done with mosquitoes ruining my backyard, and I found a solution. Let me tell you about the Mosquito Max from All American Pest Control. All right, All American's Mosquito Max is a one-stop shop proven solution for both mosquitoes and year-round pest prevention. You can save money and say goodbye to the itchy bites. All American's Mosquito Max includes monthly mosquito mist and spiderweb removal and perimeter pest control around your home. So make the change and finally enjoy your backyard the way I do. Don't let mosquitoes rule your summer and keep you inside the house. I'm not going to. So go to yuckbugs.com. That's yuckbugs.com and make the switch to All American Pest Control today.
Tuesday morning on Ramon and Will, fueled by Scooters Coffee, locally owned Scooters Coffee in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Alongside Vol Network analyst Ramon Foster, I am Will Bowling. And pinch hitting for Austin Price this morning, VolQuest's Matt Ray joins us talking about Tennessee recruiting as Josh Heupel and the Vols stay hot on the recruiting trail. What's going on, Matt? How are you?
Morning, Matt.
Guys, good morning. How are we?
We are excellent, and we certainly appreciate you joining us this morning. Big night for Tennessee, potentially. Braden Rouse, the number 7 linebacker in the country, set to commit tonight. Tennessee in the mix. Matt, what are you hearing about Tennessee's chances to finish this one?
Yeah, so this is an intriguing recruitment, guys. This one has gone really quiet in the closing stages, and it sounds like from everything that I've been able to gather working through yesterday evening that nobody's really going to get an indication going into this decision at 7 p.m. at Cal High School. Braden Rouse was able to get to a decision last week while on family vacation. A lot of discussions there between him and his family. They came home. They decided to move the decision date up a little bit and get this out of the way. But the plan currently is to go into this decision and not tell a school until just a few minutes before they go up on stage and make their announcement. I think when you look at this, I think there's cautious optimism around Tennessee and there's cautious optimism around Texas. We've heard that there's been an ending shot for 4 different commitment videos. So it would kind of surprise me at this point if it was Alabama or Michigan. It just doesn't feel like there's as much optimism around those programs, not as much chatter. I think this really comes down to Tennessee and Texas when everything settles at the end of the night. But this is just one of those recruitments that you don't see a lot of anymore. Just really close to the vest that people around Cal High School don't know what to expect. So there's a lot of anticipation. But I think when you look at this from the Tennessee side, they've recruited them as long as anybody. They got there early. They've probably still got the best relationships. I think there's a lot of positives that work in Tennessee's favor that leads to that cautious optimism. But Texas really put their best foot forward, as we've been saying over at VolQuest for some time. They made a big pitch to Braden Rouse during his official visit in June. They showed him the usage and the development at the linebacker position in Austin, and they're really selling Anthony Hill Jr., who has potential to be a top 50 pick in next year's draft, as the role that he can fit into. But I think Tennessee's done a nice job of selling things to him as well in terms of the football fit. I think they answered a lot of those questions during that last official visit. So this is just a really unique recruitment in today's world, and kind of excited to see what happens for Braden Rouse tonight.
Matt Ray of VolQuest, our guest this morning on Ramon and Will. Matt, at the inside linebacker position, I know with Jaden Harmon, with Jaden Parlati, Tennessee did really well in this last recruiting class, but there is still playing time up for grabs in the near future, not knowing what the future is for Arion Carter and some of the other guys in this roster. What has Tennessee's pitch been to Braden Rouse and to some of these other guys, and TJ White and some of the strong inside linebacker prospects, and what is giving them so much success, Matt, in recruiting this position? Because it feels like we're talking about a top 10 inside linebacker considering Tennessee almost weekly when we talk with Austin, with Brent, and now with you this morning as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think when you look at Braden Rouse and TJ White and even Braylon Outlaw in this class, who's already committed, a guy that's probably a little bit underrated, kind of forgotten because he committed. So I think when you look at the way that Tennessee's pitched these guys, it's the ability to do everything that you need from a 3-down linebacker, be in the box, be that stand up, come off the edge at times, blitz, drop back into coverage. I think, as I've talked to all of these guys, that's something that they're pretty accustomed to doing at the high school level. We saw, a school like Georgia do a lot more of that with Jalen Walker last fall, obviously. I'm not comparing any of these guys to Jalen Walker, but just the ability to move around and impact the game in multiple ways on multiple downs gives you an opportunity to get on the field, as you said, Will, earlier, play earlier in your career, play more often outside of that special teams role. So I think that's one thing that Tennessee's done a really nice job of. It's a way that they used Keenan Peely a little bit before he got hurt. They kind of moved him around and tried to tried to draw up different things for him, and I think that's resonated pretty well with these guys that Tennessee's recruited. And you look at especially Rouse and TJ White, that's what they do so well at the high school level. They're versatile, they're dynamic, and they want to continue doing that. It was a big part of TJ White's decision, and if Braden Rouse picks Tennessee tonight, it'll be a big part of his decision.
No doubt about it. Matt Ray's with us this morning, Vol Question on 3, talking a little recruiting. Matt, on the other side of things, man, we've been watching, of course, Alabama just get 5-star after 5-star. And some will look at Tennessee's recruitment so far and say, well, where's, the juice behind this one? Has Tennessee been a little bit more strategic on how they get these guys to commit, letting them, space them out a little bit more? Or are they behind a little bit on how you review this recruiting cycle?
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day, and you can definitely, Alabama has a ton of juice right now. Georgia went on a really big run to close out June into the 1st of July. For Tennessee, I think when you kind of look at some of these 5-star guys that they've been in on, everybody, kind of starting with Tristan Keys, everybody was pretty well surprised when Tristan Keys decided early. I think some even around Tristan Keys were surprised when he decided early. That's just one of those recruitments that Tennessee's going to be in until the very end. And, it's kind of been in a little bit of a holding pattern. I'm interested to see what's going to happen there, if there's going to be something sooner than later. But regardless, that's going to be one of those recruitments that goes until late November, early December, because schools are just not going to concede for him. So that's a 5-star guy that Tennessee's recruiting that is going to be a cycle-long recruitment. We don't always see a ton of those anymore. A lot of these guys are electing to make a decision throughout June, July, August, and that's really turned into where most of the hay is in the barn in these recruitments, for most of these colleges now. But, Tristan Keys is going to go the duration. A guy like Savion Hyder, is another big-time 5-star guy that Tennessee's recruited and is very much in the mix for. But that's a decision timeline that's never felt like it would be the summer. It's always felt like, it would be closer to the fall, August, September. He's hinted around at making a decision, announcing his decision date soon, but, still nothing there. Same with a guy like Darius Gray, who Tennessee will remain very much in the mix for up until the end just because of the way they've recruited him. Another guy that's never really said, hey, I want to get this done early. So I think some of that within Tennessee is just some of the guys that they're recruiting and where their timeline is. I don't feel like Tennessee's really behind. I think it's just been, when you look at the way that they are pretty strategic with their official visits, they backload those official visits. Didn't have anybody in the last weekend of May, the first day of June there, and then just a small number in that second week, and then boom, you've got 35 guys on campus in 2 weeks' time. And then from there, you got vacations and folks working into decision mode like what we just saw from Braden Rouse. So I don't feel like Tennessee's behind. I just feel like it's a little bit of a combination of where guys have always been with their timeline and where Tennessee is in terms of backloading those official visits.
Matt, you're deep into the recruiting side of things and talk to these guys and parents, and you just understand the world a little bit better than most. The question I have for you, with the Nico Iamaleava exit this spring, does that question come up or that conversation about either Tennessee or Nico when it comes down to recruiting in this era?
Ramon, that's not something that I've heard.
Okay.
I think that's a really good question, but it's not something that I've heard a lot of chatter about. I think the way that Tennessee handled that at the time really kind of answered any of the questions that you need, right? Nobody's bigger than the program. And I think Tennessee really answered that in the handling of the situation, and it was a situation that everybody saw nationally, obviously. So it's not something that I've heard come up, not something that I've heard has been a talking point for recruits at this point.
I was just fascinated because you look at the way programs before NIL, you negative recruit almost anything. And I just never knew if that was part of the conversation. But I guess now it's dollar bills more than any kind of, drama surrounding recruiting.
Sure, yeah. I think absolutely. And obviously negative recruiting is still a key. I think Tennessee still gets negatively recruited over the offense and over the fact that certain things are what they are. I think schools still are going to try to do that. And I think that's one thing in terms of a recruitment like Braden Rouse. I think Tennessee was probably negatively recruited some, in terms of their usage and what they do at linebacker. They haven't developed as many guys into draft picks. I think that's something that they've had to answer and overcome in that recruitment over time. So negative recruiting definitely still a thing. I just think now it's a little bit more easy to work around that, as you said, with the NIL and everything else that goes on. And I think Tennessee has handled all of that that's been thrown their way pretty well.
Matt Ray of VolQuest, our guest this morning on Ramon and Will. Another big tackle commitment coming up this weekend. 4-star tackle, Tennessee target J.B. Shabazz, picking between Tennessee, South Carolina, and Ohio State, a top 60 player in the country, according to On3. Matt, what can you tell us about the way this recruitment has gone, and where does Tennessee stand on the week of decision day, where, again, they're going up with Ohio State for another tackle, just like they did last year with David Sanders?
Yeah, this is an interesting recruitment as well. J.B. Shabazz has not taken a lot of visits. He's not been a very vocal guy in his recruitment, but I think Tennessee really put their best foot forward in June during their official visit. I think they had already shown him a lot. I think he connected pretty well with Glenn Ellerby as Tennessee offered, and he got to know him a little bit more. And I think Tennessee's got a very realistic shot of landing J.B. Shabazz later in this week. Now, it's a recruitment that South Carolina's not going to go away in. Ohio State's definitely a factor, but I think Tennessee has picked up some momentum here of late as there's been some really good conversation. I think the Vols are a very realistic option for J.B. Shabazz, and I don't know that I would have said that as much leading into June. I think there was always some hope that they could get him here and make the most of that visit. I think he was intrigued by Tennessee leading into that visit, but I think now Tennessee is very much a realistic contender to win out later this week for him.
Matt, local product Joel Wyatt is a guy we're talking about pretty much every single week at this point with Austin and with Brent on their weekly spots with us. What has been the reaction to him pushing back his commitment day from this past weekend, and what do you think that means for Tennessee?
Yeah, I don't think there's been a ton of shock there. I don't think there's been a lot of surprise in the fact that he decided to push that back. He's continued to have really good conversation with Tennessee. He's continued to have good conversation with several other staffs as well. Oklahoma, Mississippi State, both trying to get involved in that recruitment, trying to get him to campus more in the fall. He's alluded a little bit that that's potentially going to happen. It wouldn't surprise me if it did, but it also wouldn't surprise me if he sets another commitment date in the coming weeks here and sticks to it and makes a decision. I think he's just had so much to weigh out for so long, and he's tried to build the relationships and get to the point of knowing all these schools personally, that now he's got to sit down and figure out all the other factors. And that comes a little bit more naturally as he dives into that a little bit deeper. I still think Tennessee has a tremendous relationship with him. I think Josh Heupel's done a great job of recruiting him. I think Coach Chop, Lavorne Harbin, has done a great job of recruiting him. I think Tennessee as a staff has made him feel like he's a priority every time that he walks through the door. So a lot of things continue to line up and make sense there for Tennessee, in my opinion. But the longer this goes, the more unpredictable it gets. So if he gets on campus and somewhere in the fall and still doesn't have a decision and takes some official visits, then it just continues to get harder and harder for Tennessee. But, I still think at this point where we're at, first week of July, that a lot of things continue to line up and make sense for Tennessee.
No doubt about it. A couple of in-state guys, man. Javonte Smith's supposed to commit today. Also has had his commitment day for July 8th. And also Craig Tutt. Where are they sitting with those guys inside of the state right now currently?
Yes, I think Tennessee's still got some ground to make up with Craig Tutt. I think official visit, they continued to show him some of the things that he wanted to answer, but I think Ole Miss has continued to do a really nice job there. You get a little bit later in the month, some time to continue to work there, but I think Tennessee has some ground to make up with Craig Tutt. With Javonte Smith, I think Tennessee made up a ton of ground during his official visit, that last weekend of official visits in June, over that June 20th, 21st weekend. He's a pretty dynamic guy that I think maybe is a little underrated inside the state. When you turn his tape on, he certainly has the things that Tennessee wants at defensive back, right? He's got length and he's got speed. Two things you can't teach. And he shows up. He shows up on tape. He's very fluid in his hips. He's got really good ball skills because he plays receiver, and he has offers to play receiver at a Power 4 level. So I think he's a guy that over the winter and the spring, Tennessee's continued to lock more and more and turn the heat up more and more. Arkansas very much a factor. I think that's really who this comes down to. But I think Tennessee has put their best foot forward and has made, really good strides to be able to potentially land a guy like Javonte Smith around 2:30 Central Time today.
Great intel this morning from Matt Ray of VolQuest and On3. VolQuest.com, our partner here on the show, always the best covering Tennessee athletics and Tennessee recruiting. Really appreciate the time, Matt. Thanks so much.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. And next time Austin's kicked back in the Mediterranean with his feet up, just give me a call.
Absolutely, we will. Thank you.
No doubt about it. Appreciate it.
All right.
See you, guys.
There's Matt Ray with us here this morning. Austin Price back with us next week.
Yeah,
Matt crushed it.
He did.
Really good stuff. I knew he would. He is such a good reporter and worker.
He is,
at VolQuest,
man.
doing a really good job.
It's funny. And one more thing, according to Brent Hubbs, man, if you ever get an opportunity to take your shot, you take them at people, okay? I text Hubbs like, man, can I get Matt Ray's number? You know what I'm saying? We're trying to have him on. He's like, yeah, but he's country than a sugar sandwich.
And there ain't nothing wrong with that, is there?
Ain't a thing wrong
You're
with
from Ripley, Tennessee. I'm from Nashville. No, we get it. Absolutely
a
right.
little white bread, a little butter, a little toast, a little sugar. Well,
Sugar sandwich
come
is great.
on, Hubbs. Hey, that's a cuisine.
Gotta ask Brent for his sugar sandwich recipe when he's not with us on Friday.
I bet Hubbs make a great tomato sandwich. I guarantee he makes a great tomato sandwich from this garden.
I love it. 615-737-1045 is our number. More NFL headlines coming up to wrap up hour 3 next. Ramona Willow, 1045 The Zone is fueled by Scooter's Coffee. Ramon Foster and Will Bowling, 615-737-1045. I'll reset the show for you if you have been sleeping in this morning.
Why?
Coming up here in 15 minutes. I don't know why you have, but we forgive you.
I mean, seriously, get up.
Zone Podcast Network, where you find Ramon and Will every hour. That's Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's where we recommend you go. 1045thezone.com, available there as well. Quarterback out today on Netflix, Ramon Foster. After a one-year break, it is back. Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and America's favorite quarterback, Kirk Cousins.
Brother Kirk.
In this documentary as of today. Are you interested? You tuned into this today?
Very much so. I'll be sitting down and watching this one. Is Wimbledon on TV after what's his name gets done today? I think he's already on the other
McAfee?
American. No, not Pat McAfee. Hadn't watched the show at all.
I don't know.
The American tennis player.
Taylor Fritz.
Taylor Fritz. Fritz.
Guy with the famous girlfriend.
He got a famous girlfriend?
Yes.
Never mind.
You know what she's famous for? Being his girlfriend.
Well,
it's 2025.
Everybody eats, B. Everybody eats, B.
Taylor Fritz and Morgan Riddle, one of the power couples of tennis. Anyway, continue.
But what I'm saying is not a whole lot on television right now. So because of that, I will be watching that one. So I got to say, last year I didn't really pay too much attention to it, but this one I'm very much interested in because Joe in the season that they had, kind of trying to see how he navigated that part of it too. It's going to be fascinating to me. Plus Kirk, love to see how he reacted to the benching. Yeah, I love to see how you react.
It will be interesting to watch. I will certainly start it tonight. I've got a lot of TV to watch right now. It's hard
You
work.
got a lot of Love Island going on.
I've got 2 Love Island episodes to catch up on. I've got 3 more episodes of The Bear before I finish that.
See that.
It is so good. It is one of my favorite shows of all time. I've loved it since season 1. I am all in on The Bear. The Claire Carmi relationship is one of my favorites in a TV series.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay.
I'm not done with it yet, so I don't want any spoilers. I just got through the hour-long episode where all the guest stars are in it, like Brie Larson, John Mulaney, I think Kristen Wiig, and the new Bob Odenkirk got Better Call Saul.
Okay,
They have one episode every season that's an hour long, where their whole family is like A-list guest stars.
Okay.
Literally, Bob Odenkirk and Jamie Lee Curtis are their parents, who are in it all the time.
Well, to nobody's surprise, I guess it could be. I've restarted Sopranos over again.
Oh,
I have.
Oh,
I did it. That and I'm watching Tires too. I've
heard Tires is good. Do you like it?
It is pretty good. I like it.
I've not tried it yet.
I breezed through the first season of it with Shane Gillis.
Gillis. Not like Gilgis Alexander.
Gilgis Alexander.
Oklahoma City Thunder
Island.
MVP.
Either way, yeah. The most ever championship ever. But with that being said, though, the most non-important championship, I guess.
The Thunder?
Well, it was cool, but it was just like it happened and it died. I expected more for a franchise that hadn't gotten it before, that was mostly homegrown like that. But yeah, it need to be celebrated just a little bit more. But with that being said, Tires is good though. I've enjoyed it. It is funny. Shane Gillis is good. It's good, almost like an improv show, almost in a sense.
Sure.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
There you go. I like it. It's a good time for television right now, which is a great thing in the off season.
Yeah.
Really, really good thing. So you've got a lot of options, but quarterback is interesting. There is one piece of audio that's already surfaced of the Bengals-Titans game. I'd play it right now, but it's going to need to be bleeped out significantly. Where from the Bengals win over the Titans 37-27, Joe Burrow is red hot mad at Zach Taylor for how bad their offense was in that game, and they scored 37 points.
Yeah. No doubt. That's insane that he was upset. It was a little it was spicy. I will say I felt like the earlier parts of that game, but it was nothing to be worried about. Here's the other side, though, too, and I think this fan base needs to temper themselves to this attitude also. Most of those guys that are like Joe Burrow, I heard Lamar's super cool, Josh Allen's cool, but like C.J. Stroud, And just like the other plethora of quarterbacks, they're very demanding. They're very in your face. They can be perceived to being edgy. They can be perceived to be jerks at times. And it's all because of how they push their teammates and stuff like that. Like hearing Joe Burrow curse and go off the way he was in that moment, I'll say this to the people that will be watching this type of stuff. Eventually from a guy thinking Cam Ward, this is normal. When you are the quarterback, the franchise guy, your ability to push everybody, be in their face, and also just have this don't care, I guess, don't give a damn attitude about you at times because your only mindset is the success of this team, it comes off very brash at times.
That's why you drafted Cam Ward, was for that exact mindset.
Exactly. So as his legend grows the way people expect it to with Cam Ward, expect a little edginess and attitude towards it.
Yep.
I think we've seen a little bit of it. When he said he's going to throw the bleep out of the ball, like
right.
it just, that stuff comes with the territory. Now, Kirk Cousins is a little bit different, right?
Yep.
But for the most part, you're going to find guys like that. And most fans say they love that until they actually hear it or see it.
I agree. And, I mean, look, the culture-setting alpha quarterback is an important first step in a rebuild.
Yeah.
And a guy that not only is got the arm talent and has the ability on the field, but has the ability to motivate and raise the level of the guys around him. It's what this team hasn't had in quite some time.
And ultimately, that's what it's about. When you speak about guys who are like franchise changing, it usually starts with an attitude. It's usually probably popping somebody in the mouth in a fight or just being very direct with the coaches or just the standard of play that you've allowed to just seep through for years at that point. And it wouldn't shock me if we see Cam go at somebody in a very competitive way and it looks like they're not on the same page. But those are the guys that you want to go to battle for. Like as crazy as some of the teammates that I've played for, acted on the field, off the field, in the locker room, you love those types right there because that type of, I guess, outward expression puts pressure on everybody else. And it makes you want to dive in deeper, too.
Justin, if that is possible to be bleeped, we could play that later in the show. It's just going to take a little while to bleep
Much
it.
later.
Maybe at the very end of the show, we can play the Joe Burrow yelling at Zach Taylor because they didn't beat the Titans by more last year audio.
Yeah.
But that's what you want.
It is.
That's what you want, and that's what Cincinnati knew they were getting in Joe. It's what the Titans know they're getting in Cam. Now, as quarterbacks, Joe Burrow's a different level than Cam Ward. Nobody's arguing that Cam Ward is the same level quarterback or even quarterback prospect as what Joe was. But you hope to get that level of leadership and motivation out of your guy, where even when you win by 10 and score 37 points, you're ticked off about something.
You're screaming it's not enough.
Very Kobe Bryant-esque of what's there to be happy about?
Exactly.
Job ain't finished.
It's not. And
Job done yet?
That's going to be like the biggest, I think, point that needs to be made from Cam this year is I'm not those other guys. I'm not happy to be here.
He's different.
Yeah, I'm different.
Yep.
It's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to see also his Tubi series, too. I think that's going to be legit. It drops in August, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Yep. 0-star on Tubi.
0-star on Tubi.
I like it.
I'm just glad Tubi gets dropped this morning.
615-737-1045 is our number. You can stream the show live, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, at Ramon and Will on Twitter. Who is under the most pressure for SEC football coaches in 2025? We answered that very early this morning. If you weren't awake yet, we'll tell you what we had to say coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for Medical House Calls, good people. And that is the website, is medicalhousecalls.com. It's that simple. Their number you can text or call them is 615-838-2375. And here's the thing. They will come to your house if you call or text them. It is that simple. This is your recovery at home method that you need to be using, man. If it's from workouts, if it's from a long weekend, if you also just have to get your vitals checked, they can come to your house, draw your blood, get your results in your lab labs, and they can fit it into your schedule. I think that is the biggest thing. Some people just don't like going to the waiting room or to the ER, and they just like the personalized treatments at home. Your home is your castle. I get those things, but here's what they would say. You can call them, set the appointment for your time is going to be needed. Whether it is getting an energy boost from one of the cocktails that they have, or if you have a sickness that you're working through, or if you've gone to Vegas or to Broadway and have had the time of your life and you need one of those IV bags to help yourself recover, they do those things. Not just that, but the full exams. They'll do treatment plans and also prescriptions too. The website is very simple. It is medicalhousecalls.com. If this is something that you've been thinking about, trust me, this is exactly what you need and exactly what you think it is. You can call or text them from the same number. It is 615-838-2375. Again, medicalhousecalls.com.
It is 9 a.m. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. Not a lot of NFL news, but in the NBA yesterday, the Orlando Magic and forward Paolo Banchero agreed to a massive 5-year, $239 million max extension. It's the richest contract in Orlando Magic history. But there's a caveat. If Banchero is either All-NBA, MVP, or Defensive Player of the Year next year, he'll get an extra $48 million on his contract, which will elevate it to a supermax, totaling $287 million. In Major League Baseball yesterday, San Diego Padres third baseman Manny Machado became the 5th active player in the MLB and 297th player all time to reach the 2,000 career hit mark last night in their game against the Arizona Diamondbacks, which they lost 6-3. Machado entered the night 2 hits shy of 2,000, but had 3 hits for good measure, including a solo shot home run for hit number 2001. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Tuesday morning, wrapping up the show. It is hour 4 already. Honor, Bone, and Will. We're fueled by Scooters Coffee. They are locally owned in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. Already, Ramon Foster, 60 more minutes on this Tuesday morning.
Hey, we locked and loaded, man. That's what I'm telling you.
We are absolutely locked and loaded. We'll talk about the Titans' defensive line coming up in 20 minutes. We're going to grade a couple of Titans over the next few days and weeks as we get ready. Really, we were talking in the breaker mode. This is the last week before football season.
Yeah, it is.
Football season is back next week. SEC Media Days, talking season is football season. And then the week after that, Ramon, it's Titans training camp. Yeah. We're on the precipice of greatness. We are on the doorstep of American tackle football being discussed in ballrooms next week. That I count that as football season.
Yeah,
That's it. Football's back.
It is.
Football's back.
Like the like America and like legitimately office like
so
break
back.
rooms are getting healed.
Absolutely.
In the next few days.
Absolutely.
Like,
We're talking win totals. We're talking about trash talk at the podium, what Greg Sankey's going to talk about and how he's going to bloviate for 20 minutes about the success of the SEC and how they're on the forefront of. I can't wait.
Yeah, and not even just that. If you really want to be a true sicko about this thing, okay, Will, like this is a world you're not in just yet, but I promise you, I have a feeling you'll be there one day. But this is also the after work time of the year when dads, you know what I'm saying, find themselves going up to the high school to find them a parking spot on top of the hill to watch football practice.
Yeah, now the dead period's over.
And high schoolers, you know what I'm saying? Like this is, we're back. That's what I'm telling you. My youngest is in workouts right now at his middle school. I know high schools have already started back lifting. For the true sickos, Will, we got Friday night football coming up soon.
Very soon.
I'm talking about jamborees.
Very soon.
Okay, I'm talking about a preseason like photo shoots for magazines and pamphlets for this fall.
We are a month away from a preseason game week for the Titans.
Stop, man. It's too soon.
It's a little different for me now being down there for it in Tampa, but we are not that far away at all. It will be here before we know
You're
it.
going to enjoy it, I promise you. It's just different.
Oh, I believe you.
I want to know from your perspective. You've been on high school like sidelines. You've been on college sidelines. Have seen it. I just want to see what you think of like the production of what the NFL game is like on the sideline.
Well, I think the first thing I'm excited about is how much less crowded NFL sidelines are versus college sidelines.
If you don't have
because they let anybody and their mama on the field for college football games.
If you ain't got a credential, you going back up into the stands in NFL games.
If they let me on the field to take pictures, then there are way too many people on the field.
I mean, that's how.
Back when I was at Rocky Top Insider in college.
Yeah, no,
I was a photographer for a couple games as a fill-in for my much more qualified photographers, and
it's a party.
It's fun.
What I will say though too is like the NFL does a way better job of protecting the sideline, and I feel like other sports do. Going through like the pre-check stuff with the NFL is like 4 different checkpoints checkpoints on top of
believe
having
it.
the AI scanning.
believe it.
I went into like a college one time. We just walk right in. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, that's
college,
it.
it's like, hey, this quality control assistant just brought me a couple passes at the gate because I called my contact with the university and they said, okay, we can get you on the field.
The facial recognition stuff in the NFL stadiums is so fast. Like, you just walk up to it, show your face, and you're done.
Wow.
Like, it is.
Cool.
That's one separate I've noticed. But of course, the NFL is it's one league with 32 teams underneath it. NCAA is a little bit different. Your security is based upon what you want to spend on the money inside of it.
I saw a little bit of that with the Super Bowl trip I did with 3HL for Radio Row was like that, and then the draft was really like that too in Vegas.
The facial
when I went
recognition.
solo to Vegas for the station.
Try to do something in an NFL game. I dare you. I dare anybody.
I do not accept.
Try to act a fool.
I will not.
Yeah,
I will not. I will do no such thing. 615-737-1045 is our number. Which SEC football coach is under the most pressure? That's the topic we got into at hour one. If you missed that in the first hour of the show, you can get it wherever you download podcasts. Apple and Spotify, where you can subscribe and follow Ramon and Will, fueled by Scooter's Coffee. Ramon, you're going Mark Stoops.
Yeah.
You feeling good about that? Most pressure for an SEC coach in 2025?
Yeah, because like his exit plan, you mentioned, of course, was the Iowa job. Like, I don't think there's a strong exit plan for him. I think Kentucky's the best place for him, considering they had a Shiano event whenever he decided that I think there was a deal done for him to go to A&M.
It was at least at the finish line.
It was at the finish line.
Yeah.
And for Kentucky to be in this position to where they lost Vince Morrow and looking at just his overall record in the SEC at 28-62,
sure,
it's hard to employ somebody, Will, when they're that far below 500 too. Like there's other bigger jobs where the heat is a little bit hotter.
Yeah.
But for a team like Kentucky, I think this is a make or break for Mark Stoops this year.
I agree. I think there are 3 or 4 answers that are reasonable ones.
Yeah.
For who has the hottest seat in the SEC. Kentucky last year in total offense, Ramon, you know what they ranked in college football?
It was probably like 118.
114.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
and
tough.
You know their quarterback is this year? Kentucky.
I know. Who's their quarterback?
It's a name of a quarterback who has beaten Alabama at another stop.
Who is Kentucky's quarterback this year? It ain't Baker Mayfield.
Nope. It's a guy on his 4th school. He's 25 years old. I am right about 3 years older than this quarterback.
I want to search this, but I don't want to right now. Tell me.
Texas A&M, Auburn, and Incarnate Word, the 3 schools this guy has represented.
Sound like Malik Willis would go off, though.
Zach Calzada is Kentucky's quarterback in 2025.
Calzada.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Couldn't even get in for Auburn. Barely did. Barely got in for Auburn. He beat Alabama at Texas A&M.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
For Jimbo Fisher.
Well,
beat Nick Saban. Zach Calzada.
Fall from grace, ain't it?
Yeah. Defensively, I mean, I think Kentucky always expects to be solid. They have some experience there. I mean, the young corners there, Max Hairston, obviously out.
Yeah.
Going to the NFL draft. DJ Waller Jr., kind of that guy on defense. And they've added help for sure in the transfer portal, bringing in guys from Kent State and USC, a pass rush that was a little down, I would say, last year.
Right.
For Kentucky. They returned 2 starters on offense. Yeah. Transfers are expected to start at running back, left tackle, right guard, center, right tackle, both receiver spots, and Calzada at quarterback. They returned guard Jalen Farmer and tight end Josh Caddis, the 2 returning offensive starters for Kentucky. This has got to be it for Mark Stoops.
Yeah,
it's got to be it for Mark Stoops.
And like I said, that ain't the most important job in the SEC, but I think it's one of the most significant ones where he's been there that long.
Right.
Like, it's time. And it sucks because he had his exit plan set.
Right. For me, the only reason why Sam Pittman at Arkansas is my answer over Mark Stoops is because Arkansas fans will not be as quick to move on to basketball season as Kentucky fans and Kentucky donors and boosters. And that's funny because Arkansas is probably the second best traditional college basketball program in the SEC. They care about basketball there in a significant way, just not the way Kentucky does.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And I think the donors are going to be circling. I think Bobby Petrino is the interim head coach at Arkansas in November.
Which is crazy.
I really do.
They got to go kiss the ring again.
Arkansas gets Notre Dame, A&M, Auburn, State, and Missouri at home. They go 2 Ole Miss, 2 Memphis, 2 Tennessee, 2 LSU, and 2 Texas.
Man, that's how you know you got a real good buyout right there when you hired a guy that's going to take your job at some point in time with Sam Pittman.
39 transfers out, 28 transfers in this offseason for Arkansas. That is wild to me. 39 players leaving your program.
And with an established quarterback, too.
Yeah, with Kalen Green.
With Kalen Green.
They know more about their quarterback than Tennessee does. And they might be the second worst team in the SEC because right now it's Mississippi State, then it's everyone else.
And what's
Mississippi State is the doormat of the SEC right now until they prove otherwise.
I was high on Kalen Green, too, coming in because of his ability to run.
Totally.
His ability
Boise State guy.
He can sling it the way you need to, and matching him up with Bobby Petrino just made the most amount of sense to me. So I wonder, like, with this exodus, was it the lack of funds that was given to Sam Pittman, or was it a situation where the players there, as far as this exodus goes, don't believe in what Sam Pittman is as a coach moving forward? That plays a part in it, too, because they got agents and confidants now that they can speak to.
Right. I look forward to when we can have one of the Arkansas writers on to talk about it because, again, we'll have a writer covering all 16 teams. We have Tennessee writers on every week. We'll have writers covering the other 15 teams on all offseason. And, that's a big question.
That is a big
For sure.
And everybody says what a great dude he is, too, though.
Sam Pittman? Oh, my gosh, the best.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just think he's a great deputy. He's not a general. Great lieutenant.
We don't speak enough about that as coaches sometimes. Some coaches are better off second in command. We do not speak about that enough in sports, Will.
I think on a smaller scale, Tennessee's offense this season hopes that former Oklahoma OC Seth Luttrell is that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Offensive coordinator for Oklahoma last year, let go midway through the season. You talk to a lot of people in Knoxville. There's a lot of optimism that he's going to have an impact on that offense. And I think, Ramon, since Alex Golesh left in Knoxville, Tennessee has needed a bad cop again.
Yo.
I think Alex Golesh was a bit of a different personality in a good way to what Joey Halsley is. And it's not even really a slight on Halsley. They're just different kinds of guys, different dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe there's the feeling that Seth Luttrell could be a little bit more of a, I don't know,
a bad
disciplinarian.
guy.
Yeah, a little bit more of a bad guy.
You need that. And that
but I think Golesh was that.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. Like, you look at Golesh and see he was that guy. And there is a point.
That's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. And there needs to be balance on teams that do that type of stuff, too. Like, you look at guys that, to me, I feel like Coach Callahan hiring Denard Wilson was the bad guy when it comes down to it. Also, or you look at the way teams like offensive staffs are structured. There needs to be somebody that's a communicator. Now, also, I hate to use this word often, but a dictator type. You do as I say. For us, in the day, it was, well, Coach Foreman ruled with an iron fist too, but to be able to back him up, it was Trooper Taylor. You love him as a recruiter, a communicator, but he was also a guy that kept guys in line as it pertains to what the offensive expectations are. And I think that is something that the Vols need to get established moving forward offensively.
How much pressure is on Clark Lee this year at Vandy? Because expectations are higher now for Vandy.
They are.
And you kind of got one more year with Diego Pavia. Maybe you get two. I mean, Chris Lee's talked about that with us. If courts are going to give Diego Pavia one extra year because of the 2 he spent at JUCO, well, then maybe there's a chance he gets 2. But with expectations comes pressure, right?
Yes, it does.
For Vandy?
100%. Vandy's biggest task is going to be able to make sure that same Diego Pavia product remains fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue that they're going to have to deal with. Can they protect him enough to be spicy? Because when we talk about wins and losses, them getting the 6 wins will be phenomenal to them. But how they're going to get there, Will, it's tough.
What is the expectation for them this year, for Vandy?
Expectations? 6 wins.
See, I think if you're going to parade Diego Pavia around like many are as a top 10 quarterback in college football, like the whole country.
Yeah.
Or Diego Pavia is that level guy, at minimum, you got to make a bowl game.
6.
Minimum.
That pathway to getting there, I see Charleston Southern, that should get
that's one win.
I don't know if going to Virginia Tech is a dub.
No. On threes, Massey rating gives them a 36% chance to win that game.
And then you got to go to South Carolina.
South Carolina's a loss.
Yeah.
South Carolina is a very good football team moving forward into this year. That's not a slight at Vandy. That's Lenore Sellers and Dylan Stewart and those guys at home being a really tough out this year.
So they can be 2-2 after week 4 with the Georgia State game.
Yeah, revenge on Georgia State, important. Utah State's a win. That's 3 right there. Their win total in Vegas is 4.5.
And then it gets ugly. It gets really ugly.
2 Bama, no. LSU comes to town, probably not.
No.
LSU's a good team on paper. Brian Kelly often makes good teams on paper be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri,
No.
That's the kind of swing game. If Vandy's going to make a bowl game this year, you got to beat Missouri. I don't see a pathway for them making a bowl game without beating Missouri because you're not beating Texas and Austin. You are, I don't think, beating Tennessee and Knoxville.
No.
On 3 gives them an 11% chance to beat Tennessee. Kentucky, you got to beat Kentucky and Missouri to make a bowl game. That's 6 wins right there.
Kentucky and Missouri?
Yep. Kentucky and Missouri or Auburn. Auburn coming to town. As many Auburn fans as there are in this city, though, that's a big-time home game for Auburn.
So their pathway in doing this, we spoke about them rebuilding this offensive line and trying to find weapons for themselves, too.
Protecting Pavia to get him through the whole season healthy is the number one priority for Clark Lee.
Unless they're running the triple option the way Georgia Tech did back in the day, which is a little bit a part of it.
Yeah, that's right. They just ran out of the pistol.
Then what is your backup to Diego Pavia? Because
what's your changeup?
Exactly.
That's your fastball. Now what's your changeup? Teams are going to be ready for what they do.
And if he's the straw that stirs the drink, then he can't get injured. And you know what happened later in the season if he got exposed?
He's banged up.
He got banged up. That's the issue that you run into.
That's the issue I have with him talking about trash talking Tennessee is that just make sure you're healthy to play Tennessee.
Exactly. Because from what the 17-year-old said at Alabama, Ryan Williams, 18-year-old
18-year-old now, he had a birthday.
It's gonna be like a sledgehammer to an act.
Right.
Because of how they've talked. And he's trying to back this up too.
615-737-1045, our number. It's a great discussion because you add Texas and Oklahoma and you add the talent that this conference has added in the transfer portal this year. Vandy has gotten better, but as Vandy Man of the F&M Bank chat says, so has everyone else. So, anyway, coming up, T'Vondre Sweat grading his rookie season. How good was T'Vondre Sweat? We'll ask someone who played 11 years as an interior offensive lineman blocking guys like T'Vondre Sweat. Where can he improve the most this season, and how much can he help Jeffrey Simmons? We'll talk about that next.
Did you know that up to 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space? Have you ever looked in your crawl space? I kid it. Most of us don't even want to know what's in there. But moisture in your crawl space can create unhealthy issues that can make their way into the air you breathe every day in your home. It's Ramon Foster, and this is where United Structural Systems can help you. USS has been keeping homes dry and stable in Middle Tennessee since 1994, so you know they aren't going anywhere. You can help control moisture and musty smells with mold treatment and crawl space encapsulation that comes with the USS guarantee. Encapsulation helps reduce high humidity in your crawl space. It also helps deter mold and mildew and protects your crawl space from pests and wood rot. So turn your crawl space into a healthy space. Reach out to the company I trust for all foundation repair and waterproofing needs. That is USS. You can reach them on their website at USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call them 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
Ramona Willow, 104.5 The Zone is fueled by Scooters Coffee. Visit a locally owned location near you in Rivergate, Smyrna, Brentwood, White House, or Mount Juliet. Amazing people, amazing drinks, amazingly fast. If you are still in a haze after the holiday week, 4th of July weekend, there are still fireworks going off in your brain and you can't think, well, extra caffeine from Scooters will have you covered. The cinnamon rolls will hit perfectly. They pair so well with the coffee, Ramon.
Yes, absolutely, man.
They're warm. They're absolutely fantastic.
Soft. Just the right amount of sweetness that's in it, too. You know what I'm saying? So it's good. I could give you a whole dissertation on it, but I'll just trust us. This is what we'll tell you.
Just trust us.
Just trust us.
That's absolutely right. T'Vondre Sweat could knock down some Scooters Coffee cinnamon rolls.
He could.
Imagine he has in his day.
I mean, listen to me. You don't get that size just by accident. That's what I'm telling you, all right? There's strategic planning in some of this, Will.
If you are grading T'Vondre Sweat's rookie season, what would you give him?
I give him a B. No, matter of fact, change that. I give him a B+. He had some moments. He played his part. He was mostly available. He did more, I think, than most people thought he was going to do. I'm not sure if it's because his pre-draft issues that he had, the weight, the size, and all that. But no, I think he was very effective. I give him a B+, Will, for a rookie year.
B+. So production for T'Vondre this past season looked like 51 tackles.
Mm-hmm.
For him plugging the middle and being an excellent run defender. 1 sack, 1 forced fumble while consistently playing in over 50% of the defensive snaps. I think his snap count, Ramon, is where he exceeded expectations for me.
Absolutely.
It didn't feel like the weight was a significant limitation. Now, you were there on the sideline and you were watching more of the dialogue and the shape he was in and all of these things. Did you ever feel like T'Vondre Sweat was out of shape or not prepared to play what the Titans wanted him to do?
No, I didn't think so. For the role that he's playing in, I thought he was. Now, again, speaking on his conditioning and when you needed him out there, what I did see this past year was this. He was out there on first, second, and third down throughout certain points in the game. He stayed out there for extended drives. I don't think he got overly exposed for being out there, too, because there is a component that teams like to take advantage of. And when you were asking him to show spurts of, I feel like in that first year, you got to show that you belong. And I think that stiff arm sack fumble that he had last year was a part of it, too. Yes, he belongs in that conversation for sure. He belongs.
So Jim Wyatt in his mailbag, I guess now 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, was asked about Jeffrey Simmons' weight and T'Vondre Sweat's size. And Jim Wyatt had this to say. Jeffrey looked great when he reported for minicamp, and Sweat looked just okay to me this offseason. I didn't notice a big difference in his weight when he reported back for the start of the offseason, but I think he has lost some weight since. He now has about 3 or 4 weeks to get himself in peak condition to be ready for camp. Sweat did admit to the media that he had lost some weight.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as noticeable as it is for Jeffrey Simmons and J.C. Latham. I think, though, Ramon, that can just be a Jeffrey Simmons and J.C. Latham observation.
Right.
More so than it is a knock on T'Vondre. Like, the fact that those two guys have totally transformed their bodies doesn't mean that T'Vondre Sweat is overweight. It just means that those two guys totally transformed the way they look.
Yes, I would agree with that. But here's what I will also say, too. I think this is just going to be a part of the conversation moving forward for T'Vondre just because I think he's gotten situated into being a big guy like this. I think the other thing behind T'Vondre and his size is probably this, too. At his size, he has shown to be elite or doing elite-like things. Like I said, carrying the ball and stiff-arming somebody.
Yeah.
Being readily available at his size when some guys can't afford to do those things. And even in college when he was this big, right? He goes out and wins the Outland Trophy. He wins at his size. So I think it's going to be a battle for him to make a dramatic, or I ain't going to say dramatic, a drastic change the way we saw JC or Jeff do. And the other side of it is players at his size, I think, feel like they can't be themselves if they're not close to where they're comfortable at. And what I mean by this is it's uncomfortable to get to Jeffrey Simmons' size, right? And or you question, what am I as this player? At his job, he's going to have to figure out which version of a D tackle does he want to be. Does he want to be a D tackle / get after the quarterback guy, or is he going to be a DTNT, nose tackle? Is he going to be a plugger of the middle of the offense? Because if that's the case, then what I would suggest to him, go ahead and get you a barbecue grill pit. You know what I'm saying? Get you some charcoal and get you some overalls like our guy Vince Wilfork did. If you want to play that.
Yeah. Do you want to be Vince Wilfork or Vita Vea?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you want to be an agile big man or do you want to be a space eater?
Those are the questions you got to ask.
Which would you rather him be?
Right now, I need him to be Vince Wilfork. I do.
Interesting.
Because I think teams are going to try this offense a whole lot more as far as trying to keep it behind the sticks, and you got to be able to have somebody on that side of the ball that can stuff the middle of the pocket. Now, I know Keandre Colburn is still here too, but the threats of what Tavondre can provide on first through third downs, right, for a series is two, I think is more what this team needs than for him to transform into a pass rusher right now. Who's the actual run stopper on this team? I think we talk more about the linebackers being those guys than we do the guys up front. I'm looking at Tavondre, and then Jeff's known for being a run stopper. But as it turns right now, well, the era that we're in right now, Jeff, in my opinion, is looking forward to being more of a pass rusher than he is a run stopper. And to be quite fair with them, I do think that is the next step for him.
Yeah,
so there's got to be somebody inside that building, Tavondre Sweat, to hold up the line of scrimmage.
I feel like the Titans want him to be more Vita Vea, Tavondre. Brian Callahan answered that this past month.
Well, you're going to get a chance
in the month of June, saying, honestly, we want more pass rush production out of him. That's the next step. There aren't a lot of humans that move like him, and we feel like there is still potential there. In terms of sacks, Vita Vea has taken a lot of time to add that pass rush element to his game. 7 sacks for Vita Vea last season in his age 29 season. In his second year, when he was 24, he only had 2.5 sacks.
Yeah.
So it's not something that will happen overnight if the Titans want Tavondre Sweat to become a more Vita Vea-like character. On the flip side, Vince Wilfork became less of a pass rusher over the course of his career.
Yeah.
And into his 30s, he did not have a single sack in any of his last 4 seasons in the NFL. Vince Wilfork. But he had 5 Pro Bowl seasons in there, and his career high in sacks was 3.5. In Vince Wilfork.
Again, it's the type. And that's the challenge too for Tavondre, I feel like, moving forward. If Jimmy Wyatt didn't feel like he made the changes, it's just alluding to the article. Like, can we read between the lines just a little bit? Jim Wyatt writing that he didn't see the weight loss that he thought he should have. It's probably a team mindset, to be quite honest with you. There was probably expectation that he was going to get close to dropping 20 this offseason. So if you're not going to drop those 20, or you look different in your body makeup, the way Jeff did, the way we're watching J.C. Latham look also, then that puts, in my mind, him in a box. Coaches are huge on the number when it comes down to the weight. The production is one thing, but you know what a coach said, if he goes out and get 5 sacks this year, he probably would have had 7 to 10 if he'd have lost 20 more pounds.
Yeah, right.
And that's where it becomes, can I trust you to do the things that I'm asking you to do on game day? A year 2 for Tavondre to me is, I would say, run stopping has to be number 1 for him. It absolutely has to, because the size suggests that, and there is really nobody behind him that can do what he can do with his size. But he does have to get to a point where he can at least get some TFLs behind the line of scrimmage or get to the quarterback. Well, I ain't going to tell you this because you know better than me.
No, I mean,
my point is this. There aren't, to Coach Callahan's point, many one-way players in this league. You need to be able to get after the quarterback and also stop the run.
In terms of overall production, Tavondre Sweat is ahead of what Vita Vea was as a rookie in everything but sacks. Vita Vea's rookie season as a 23-year-old in 2018, drafted 12th overall from Washington, was just 28 overall tackles. 3 sacks, 4 TFLs, 4 quarterback hits. Vince Wilfork's rookie season in 2004, 2 sacks, 42 tackles, 1 TFL. It's a thankless position. It is a position where I think it's harder to judge stats for nose tackles and the biggest guys in the field than anyone else in football. Like, I even think it's easier to judge offensive linemen than it is nose tackles, because at least there's an element of sacks allowed. I know that's not an exact science, but nose tackles just holding up 2 guards and allowing
somebody else.
Allowing a linebacker to get in and clean up the mess. There's no stat given for being in the right spot. No. So I get that it's difficult to give expectations for Tavondre, because We can sit here and say, oh, but 4 sacks would be great for Devondre Sweat this year. But if the Titans are giving up 200 yards left and right in the run game in games against divisional opponents because Devondre Sweat's getting too far upfield in pursuit of sacks versus staying home and stopping the run, that's not a successful season for this defense, and it's certainly not a successful season for Devondre Sweat. So I think he could become too pass rush reliant. I think you're totally right.
Yeah. I'm looking forward, though, to seeing who they pair Jeff up when he's out there in these moments, since we're speaking about Devondre, Keandre, Colburn, too. Because if you go too light, well, to your point, 200 yards on the ground, you're going to lose. You're going to lose often. You expose yourself not to just the ability for offense to do what they want to, but the injuries. If we can get multiple guys on you beating you down, then we're looking at Jeffrey in his elbow situation, or Devondre. How good is your soft tissue? How good was your conditioning?
Well, then it becomes
out there
harder to rush the passer, too, because
100%.
Teams are beating you down, double teaming you. Teams probably also have the lead if they're doing that because they're running the football a lot.
I would almost say, and this is early offseason talk right here, well, late offseason talk right now, too. There's a bigger role for Devondre in this defense than it almost is for Jeff, because the expectation that Jeff gets the job done. What is
Devondre's the X factor.
100%.
Jeff is the guy that you know what you're getting. But Devondre Sweat could be, again, one of the biggest X factors of this entire team. If that guy's good, you have the highest level of elevation of your entire team and entire defense.
To be quite honest with you, it quietens the conversation around the inside linebackers. Because if he's handling his job, that means guys are off and Cody Barton can run side to side. Exactly. Right. James Williams can develop a little bit more.
Play more free and just get in the hole and thump.
And that's probably flagrant to say that there's a bigger role for Devondre to play than almost anybody else. But when you look at the makeup of where this defense is right now, like, he's got a lot on his plate, no pun intended.
Is he the biggest X factor on the whole defense?
Looking through?
I'd say it's either him or Snead.
I'm going to go with him.
If L'Jarius Snead is healthy.
That's the point.
If L'Jarius Snead is healthy for 17 games, he is a total game changer for this defense. Total game changer. Outside of him, I would put Devondre Sweat as the next X factor on this defense, because we know what it looks like when Jeffrey Simmons doesn't have help.
Yeah.
It looks like 2023 and 2024.
You'll see a frustrated Jeff on the
problem
side,
is he still doesn't have enough help, but a better Devondre Sweat should at least be something more for pressure being taken off of Jeffrey Simmons to do his thing.
And the other part of it is, for me, is I feel like these same conversations were probably had in D.C. last year too, because there's so many mercenaries I feel like this team has signed this year for 1-year deals or 2-year deals that are really ones to try to help a team out. But like seeing the significant growth of guys like Devondre, I think is going to play the biggest part of it all, because if he's eating, I feel like Arden is, then you can pair them up and run games. And not just that, like I said, if you can find a way to put Cedric Gray or James Williams out there to develop and also make plays.
And turn them into a guy.
And turn them into dudes. Like, giving the grace to develop is something I don't think we in sports recognize. The same way you can't see a nose tackle taking up 2 blocks. I feel like that part of it too.
Well, and especially a 4th-round pick at a non-premium position. 4th-round pick inside linebackers start quickly.
Yeah.
That is what Cedric Gray is. I know he was hurt last season, but it's time for Cedric Gray to step up. It's time for James Williams to step up. Like, you find good inside linebackers on day 2 and 3 of the NFL draft.
100%.
It's not too much to ask to say that a guy at that position, drafted as late as they were, should be solid. So you want that working in tandem with the front and with Devondre Sweat, who could make Cedric Gray's life a lot easier, to where you don't feel like you're throwing a liability out there who's learning on the job.
No doubt. And the other part of it is, too, this to me, from a coach's perspective, speaks directly to what are you made of as a player. Are you somebody that's want to be a career backup, be a special teamer? Because I'm looking, as you said, like, this defining moment. I think it's almost that for Cedric Gray and also James Williams. If we're putting you two in competition with one another, because Cody's got his job, his paycheck.
You got 1 year to prove you can do the job.
Which one of y'all are going to take this starting spot and run with it?
Day 3 picks get 1 year to prove that they can do the job.
That's it.
Otherwise, they'll replace you with another one.
Especially when they're about to be in a position.
Right, and especially at a position like inside linebacker, it's easily replaceable. Heck, Anthony Orji might have already replaced them.
That's what I'm saying.
And they got him off waivers from New Orleans.
Just look at the group of linebackers that have come through here as of late. They either turn into like a guy partial starter or they're just teamers and then they're out.
Right.
Like those are decisions that's right in front of them. And that sucks in year 2 for Cedric Gray when he lost one basically. But that's the reality of this league. You get it now or you get put into a box of you're just a special teams king.
Again, earlier this morning, if you missed it, ESPN.com ranking the top 10 defensive linemen in the league according to executive scouts and coaches. And Jeffrey Simmons lands at number 4. Number 4 also his highest ranking. His lowest ranking was unranked. And the 27-year-old Jeffrey Simmons, according to an NFC executive, quote, still dominant versus the run. I didn't see the same pass rush explosion. Other teams cut Jeffrey Simmons slack, noting that missing Danico Autry was significant. The two played off of each other. An NFL coordinator says, quote, morale gets low and it's hard to rush when you're always playing from behind. Still one of the most complete players. That is, again, where Cam Ward makes a difference. Mm-hmm. If you're not playing from behind, you not only get the best version of Calvin Ridley and Chig Okonkwo and Gunnar Helm and Elikiah Manor and Chimere Dike, you also hope that your pass rushers can actually, rush the passer because they're not having to stop the run because the other team is up by 30 points at halftime, the way it was in Detroit last year.
I mean, that's what I was going to say. Think about Detroit.
That is where Cam Ward elevates everything, you hope.
Yeah.
And that's why you draft Cam Ward. That's why they did it.
It's 100%.
They believed in him enough to say, it puts us in best positions to where not only is our offense performing as well as it can, but the defensive guys are in the best position to succeed.
Marching your guy out there and knowing he can take a drive down the field.
That's 100% right. All right, so speaking of guys like that, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Tennessee Titans 37-27 this year. Justin has been working effortlessly to bleep a lot of F-bombs in a rant by Joe Burrow, who was so frustrated about how badly the Bengals played against the Titans when they scored 37 points last year. And you'll hear that audio coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people, nobody wants to deal with a plumbing, HVAC, or an electrical emergency. I'll be quite honest with you. Last year around this time, I had to call Hiller because I had cooled the house way too fast, and the condenser on my HVAC was broken or burst, and guess what? They came out and fixed it ASAP, and they did a really good job on it the first time. And that's because when you call Hillers, the experts are going to solve your problems quickly. Whether it be your plumbing, heating and cooling, or electrical, they are just a company to trust. Best part about them is the price you pay, the price you're told is always the price you're going to pay. There are no hidden fees or surprises when you get your bill. They've been around for over 35 years and a family owned and operated. Their motto is simply, happy you'll be or the service is free. If you can't get behind that, then something's wrong with you. So if you need to book with Hiller or just simply learn more about them, simply visit happyhiller.com.
Ramona Will, 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up the show on this Tuesday morning. And coming up tomorrow, what position shall we break down tomorrow, Ramon, for the Foster Five? Doing D-line?
D-line.
We got D-line from NFL executives today. We can do your list tomorrow. We can do top 5 you've ever blocked.
Okay, we can do that. Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
The top 5 defensive linemen Ramon Foster has played against, college or NFL or high school. Maybe there's somebody in West Tennessee who was just cooking.
Oh, here's the thing.
Probably not,
I cooked everybody in West Tennessee. I don't know what you're talking about. Boy, one Mr.
That's the right answer.
I want Mr. Football. Like, what are you talking about? You don't get that from
And
just
you were
getting
kicking it over their heads,
That's
too.
what I'm talking about, running down on kickoff coverage, Will. I mean, seriously, what are you doing here? This is bragging hour right now is over? No, I'm kidding.
No, absolutely. You get 4 bragging hours every morning.
I do, and I try not to do that as often. So
I'm with you.
But your call today was phenomenal. Just got to say that again. If y'all on the socials, man, go check out Will's call for Nashville SC.
Thank you.
Truly. He won't say it. That's the reason he got me for.
I appreciate it.
I'm here to put my people up on a pedestal, man.
Everybody eats.
Everybody eats, B.
That's right.
That's simple, man.
Last year, the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Tennessee Titans 37-27. Within that game, the Bengals offense was not great. Will Levis threw 3 picks. Classic. The Bengals had 6 false starts, the most by an offense in a game last season. That's the 3rd most by an offense since 2012. Joe Burrow.
Can I say something about that?
You may say something about that.
That many offsides. One, I think it's a lack of respect almost for the other sides. It's like, oh, we're just it's lack of focus.
Like we can go back 5 yards. It ain't gonna matter.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of the threat, like Jeff versus one of the O lines, like would be the only situation that you was worried. But you got to change that.
So Joe Burrow on quarterback, which just came out this morning on Netflix, was not happy. This is him mic'd up at the end of the game.
The penalty train rolls on.
What are we doing, man? Wake the up! F***ing mental mistakes all f***ing day. Way to finish the day. That's a great drive to finish it. I know it's frustrating. Embarrassing performance by us. Embarrassing. Listen, we'll address it. But at the same time, let's enjoy some wins. We sucked today. That was embarrassing. Okay. We jumped off sides 8 times. I know that. Okay? I'm going to praise our defense.
Sometimes I walk into an emotional moment that I know I'm walking into an emotional moment, and it becomes a really emotional moment, and it may be viewed as conflict. It's really just passion for the game.
I understand that we won the game, and we want to be happy that we win the game, but at the same time, when things aren't good enough, I'm not going to act like they were.
It's Joe Burrow and quarterback on Netflix.
I cringe just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there was a higher expectation for beating the Titans down is basically what he was saying. Am I taking it too far?
No, I think you're right.
Yeah. Hearing him say there was a lack of focus, like I said, it's disrespectful to the players that was on the other side of the ball that had to face Joe Burrow them, because it's basically saying we walk out here and still put up 37 points. Now, you also had some help with the turnovers that the Titans offense had, but there's a long climb back to getting your respect when it comes to teams that feel this way about you. That's the point of that clip.
My biggest takeaway is that is the exact mentality that you just signed up for when you drafted Cam Ward. That a guy that is never going to be satisfied is now leading your offense and leading your franchise. Yeah. And won't ever say he needs to rewire his brain after games the way Levis did last year. But it's the fact that you threw so many picks and you gave the ball away so many times against Cincinnati last year that 6 false starts didn't even matter.
Yeah.
You're giving them short fields left and right, and they took advantage.
There was also, Mason came in later that game. That's also, I'm looking at the score and drive. Mason Rudolph, yeah.
Mason Kinsey probably came in late, too.
At that point, I think it was 24-14 going into halftime. That needs to change. That has to change this year moving forward, Will.
Well done by Justin getting that bleeped. That was probably a long project.
I didn't realize there was that much on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's well done by you.
The passion, though, you got to love it. You have to salivate of knowing that that's your guy moving forward.
Excited to watch Quarterback on Netflix. I'll dive into a little bit of it tonight.
Yeah,
between episodes of Love Island and The Bear.
Love Island. I still hadn't gotten on it.
It's gotten crazy.
Well, I'm hearing.
It's gotten crazy. I'm 2 episodes behind, so no spoilers from anyone listening. But, yeah, it's good. So, Love Island and Quarterback. I will not be the only male watching Love Island and Quarterback in the same day today. And playing EA College Football 26. I made my high school, so I'm going to start as a 4-star quarterback on Heisman and see if I can play in my high school's actual jerseys and see what happens.
You know, what's wilder, too, is the time of possession in that Titans-Cincy game.
Look at you still trying to do serious sports talk.
31 minutes to 28. That's tough.
You just that's the summary of the Titan season last year, what you just did. You just lowered your head and shook your head.
I did.
It's like, well.
A change is going to come.
A new season is here. Football's back. Ooh. Talking season next week. Yeah. Training camp after that. We made it, guys. Off season's over, officially. Tell your friends. Back at it tomorrow morning. Rhett Bryant will be here at 9. Ramon will rank the top 5 defensive linemen he ever played against. We'll see how many Ravens make the cut. Ugh. How many Gators make the cut.
Ugh.
That's tomorrow here on Ramon. Buck Rising Show got you covered up next.
Good people, you must remember at all times, one, stay hydrated. Hydrated. What is that all about, Will? But your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.